What is up, Moody?
Man,
Back.
nothing. Just another frigid day. That's what's up. Cold as shit.
It's ridiculously cold, and it's gonna be cold tomorrow too. When my Commanders play Philly at home, it's supposed to be like
Mm.
31 degrees as a high, 11 as a low. I think it's supposed to be like low 30s, like during game time. But you add the wind chill, it's probably gonna be somewhere in the 20s. So everybody's like, "Oh, it's gonna be Jaden's coldest game." I'm like, and like. Like, it's gonna have to happen at some point. Like, if we wanna win a
Exactly.
championship, we might have to go to Green Bay in -7 degrees weather. Like,
Ooh, that'd be
gonna have to do
something.
it at some point. So,
Ice Bowl Part 2 or 3
yeah.
years later.
I guess while I got myself already talking about football, I'll start off with my Percy for today, and I'll try to keep it short and concise and not try to over exaggerate and take up time. But I got it called in our Notion doc. The NFL can get the smoke too, because for people that are not familiar with our conversations, obviously, um, we both love all sports. We tend to have a leniency to one or another, but I think there's times when me and you are conversing where it feels like you make me not to be a basketball guy because I always come out and like I have issues with the NBA and some of the things that kind of go on. And this is my time to be like, hey, the NFL, you can get the exact same smoke. I'm equal opportunity with this. And I say this and I bring this up because last week my Commanders were at New Orleans and we played the Saints. And I don't know if you saw the end of that game, but okay, so they Commanders were up, Saints come back near the end of the game and they they're like on the 6 yard line, right? And they get a ball down to the 1 yard line, but they have no timeouts, and the clock is supposed to keep rolling. The clock stops at 9 seconds for 4 seconds
Hmm.
for no reason. There's a ref that comes in and he's calling to stop the clock, and it's like, why are you stopping the clock when they have no reason to stop the clock? It's they have no timeouts. The ball
Hmm.
was in the middle of the field. There's no reason for you to stop the clock, but the clock stopped for 4 seconds, which allowed the Saints to get the fake spike off, and then the next play they score a touchdown, and then we eventually stop the two point conversion to keep the win. I say all that to say that it may seem personal, but this is not just a Commanders thing. This is just a general NFL thought. There needs to be a complete overhaul in officiating, because the officiating this year, and not in just even the NFL, we could talk about it in the NBA, but as far and other sports as well, but officials need to be held a lot more accountable. It can't be, oh well, we missed it. Oh well. Like, no, like honestly, the crew that refed our game for the Saints game, they should just hang up their cleats for the entire season. Because not only was that a mistake, they allowed a field goal to get kicked. There's like 6 referees on the field, and then there's a referee up in the box. They allowed a field goal to get kicked when there was no time on the clock. The end of the quarter, the third quarter ended. 6 seconds after the third quarter ended, they still kicked a field goal, and the refs, every single ref was like, because he missed it, they were like, no good, blah, 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 blah. And it took the coaches to tell them, hey, there was no game clock left. How can you count that?
Yeah.
There's missed pass interferences, and that's just our game. If you go to even just the past 4 or 5 weeks of national football games that are happening on Thursday night football or whatever it may be, each week there is a clear, blatant face mask.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've seen that. You can see that in the
Each
highlights
and
just
every
week to week.
week. You
Yeah.
don't even need to. You can watch it in real time.
Whenever you
Like
see somebody's head get snapped
you
back
don't
like this,
even
that's
need the
basically a
replay.
face
Yeah, you
mask.
don't even need
Yeah.
the replay. Like, dude, you don't need. How can you? And then to just be like, oh, well, but then there's this arbitrariness of like, oh, replay booth outside just called us and they're like, oh, that's not a first down. Oh, that was a face mask. And I'm like, so when do we need a challenge?
Hmm.
Because there's times where you will respot the ball or you'll change a short call to a first down without having the team actually use a challenge flag. But then there's times where you're like, oh, but that's not challenge. So my whole point is that there needs to be a full revamp of how we officiate these games, because obviously the refs are human. They're gonna make mistakes. But you can't just be like, well, we messed up our job, and that literally could have cost you a playoff spot. Imagine if that happened in the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
in a playoff game, where the clock
I mean,
just stops for 5 seconds to allow another team to get a snap off. And that cost you a Super Bowl? And then you got the refs, all they're going to say, well, the clock wasn't supposed to stop, and it stopped, but there's nothing we can do about it. So, well, you guess you lost your Super Bowl. What?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we all got to deal with that as fans. I mean, you're not going to hear any pushback from me as far as like, oh, we needing a referee overhaul in the NFL, because I mean, I've mentioned it to you before. You already know my nexus point of them calling a fumble recovery dead in the middle of an AFC championship game against the Patriots, because we know the Patriots are devil worshippers. So yeah, like, you got to get me started there. But I mean, yeah, like you said, holding, you can call holding basically what, every other play, if not every play. That's what
Yeah.
they say. I mean, I think I'm not like a technician when it comes to like the NFL. So like the hip drop tackle, I really didn't understand what that was about. I understand like, the injury risk, I guess, but I'm like, I don't know that's where I was kind of with the defenders of like, if somebody's running past me, I would just like fall sideways, right? But either way, yeah, it's way too egregious. We've seen blown pass interferences, like was it Saints and Rams, or was it
Yeah.
Vikings Rams? Like when receiver just gets blown up before the ball even gets there. No pass interference. We're all in the country like, what the fuck was that? We all saw it, and it's just
There's
ignored.
way
Like,
too
oh
many
well,
cameras to allow that to happen.
yeah, facts.
There's way too many eyes to be like, well, we missed it. How, Sway? You literally
Everybody else
see
saw
guy's
it.
neck just get jerked by a face mask. Like, how do you miss that?
Mm,
And then we just gotta sit there. And then if anybody says anything about the refs, it's like you get fined. And it's like, who made them God?
right. Yeah, that's why you got because even I'm sure within all sports they have like the A-list team of refs, the crews versus D-list. Like, we know that Monday Night Football is going to have the better crew than Thursday night. You know what I'm saying? Or even going
I
into the
don't even think
playoffs,
that's the
because they're
case. I don't even think
well,
that's the case. Like I don't know if that's like I wouldn't be. That's hard
putting
to
a
say
hopeful
because
spin on
like I get it because it's a national game, but like
that's
all
all
of
I'm
your
saying.
games should be refed appropriately. Again, they're humans. They're going to make mistakes. But at the same time, if we have all of these cameras, the XFL literally reviews every play. And plus, we need more transparency in this.
Mhm.
You can't act like this is like some hit 'em crime family where everything that you do is in shadows. Like, can we please have the transparency of what's happening here? Like, and I don't gamble. This has nothing to even do with betting. This is more of just the integrity of the game. Because again, you are the most popular entertainment thing in America. There's way too many eyes on this to be like, yeah, we missed the call and you got to live with it. Nah, bro. If that's the case, you need to hang up your cleats. I don't care if I don't care if you're Sean Hawk, Ed, what's his face? What's his name? Ed Hockley was his dad's name. This is Sean
Mm.
Hockley. So
Oh
this is
yeah,
his son.
yeah.
I don't care if you're his son. That game, they don't deserve a playoff game. They don't even deserve like they should honestly hang up their cleats for the rest of the season.
Hmm.
Because that is one of the most horribly officiated games I've ever seen. And we won. And it's not to say the refs cost us this game, but it is something to say that, like, hey, you can't just be like we put ourselves in that position as a team to give up 19 straight points or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you can't just let the refs just be like, oh, well, we made mistakes, so you can't punish us though.
Yeah.
Nah, that's BS. That's BS. That harms your integrity of the game. When you just are just saying, well, it is what it is. No, it's not. You're not doing your job. You get paid. at bare minimum, $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. Oh, they're part-time refs. I don't care. You are reffing an NFL game. If you want to say, oh, I'm part-time, go ref a high school game. Fine, we'll let that go. But don't tell me a $1 billion, $9 billion industry. The problems are because the problems are because yeah, the problems are because the refs are part-time. I don't care. I don't get paid and I can see these calls.
Yeah.
At home, you're on the field. That's stupid. And so NFL, again, it's the same thing with the NBA in the sense that, like, what were we talking about last week where I put in a lack of better terms this week. They're taking half measures to solve a problem. In the fact of, like, how can we fix the valuableness of each game in the NBA, right? The NFL are taking half measures to fix this problem because they're like, oh yeah, I think we'll consider in the offseason looking at face mask being a reviewable play or whatever. It's like, no, bro, it's the entire officiating thing. Stop putting small fixes on the large problems. If you're gonna fix it, fix the goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm. Send them
Don't
back to
give
their
me a
ref
play-in
boot camp
tournament.
or put them through
Yeah.
ref fucking Green Beret training, basically.
Again,
Like,
no,
that's
just
the same reason that Scott Foster.
Stop being assholes and being like, yo, like, we're the best, so we can't be taking XFL stuff. No, the XFL does it better. Just do what the XFL does. It ain't that hard.
I said, we're not going to act like it's, like you said, the NFL is infallible. Like, spring football doesn't come around every other year or every 3 years. And the NFL takes something from them because they know they should be doing it in the first place.
I was watching
it's like, you're not going to acknowledge something until they do it.
They took challenges from them as far as, like, throwing red flags and stuff. I'm like, they took challenges from the USFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so my whole thing is, again, stop putting small Band-Aid fixes onto large-scale problems, whether it be trying to find the valuableness of a game in the NBA, whether it be the NBA Cup or the play-in tournament, which, again, I think are half measures to a larger problem. And the same thing with the NFL and officiating. You can't be like, oh, we're going to look at face masks possibly being reviewed when there's a litany of problems that could be solved by just having someone just review every play. And it doesn't mean that holding needs to be challenged on every play, but I think there's a way where you can have every play be reviewable. It is being reviewed in real time. And then allowing at least a little bit more flexibility. And again, if you want to give referees leeway, allow them to just rely on review. Like, I get it. You don't want these games to be 5 hours long, but I'd rather them be right than wrong.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep my emotions down, but again, it's early. I kept it up. So that's my Percy. But just to let you know that I'm equal opportunity with this. I love both sports, and both can get it when they rightfully deserve to get it. So Sunday Percy.
I hear you. On a more positive note, I guess this would be positive, or at least the vibe is positive. I'm sure you saw the Superman 2025 trailer came out, James Gunn's Superman, and my immediate reaction was, or the immediate not reaction, feeling was like hopeful, hearing like the old original Christopher Reeves, Superman theme song and stuff, and electric guitar riffs and stuff like that. James Gunn, we know he's like obviously a huge fan of these comics and like fandom like ourselves. And for him to emotionally manipulate me, like, 15 seconds into the trailer with Crypto, the super dog, who I have not seen in live action. Apparently he was in the HBO show Titans when I was watching that, but I couldn't get through it. It was awful. Apparently he was in that, but I never got that far. So just seeing him as a little white furred mutt, you know what I'm saying? And Superman says, "Take me home," and dragging him through the ice. It was pretty awesome. Like seeing Mr. Terrific, like a lot of cameos of heroes that I haven't seen before, and I think I'll be excited to see once July 11th comes around next year. Millie, I'm just looking at the cast right here. David Cornsweet, which I'm like, that's such a British ass name. Cornsweet. It's spelled Corenswet.
Yeah.
That's British as fuck. But that's
Yeah,
Superman.
he had a small role in the new Twisters film.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that. I know you went to go see that. We got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He looks great in it. Seeing him with the bald head.
Mhm.
Um, just a bunch. I'm sure. I mean, this is a rhetorical question because I know you're gonna go see it. But I guess what was your thoughts just watching the trailer the first time?
Yeah, I don't have much of a affinity for Superman.
Hmm.
Um, I he's kind of a lame superhero to me just because he's just so OP.
He's OP, yeah.
But, um, I thought the trailer with that in mind, I thought the trailer was fine because, there's a lot of things that just, went over my head. Like, okay,
Mm.
like, I'm not as familiar with the DC and the Superman lore. So, like, some of the, like, hidden Easter eggs, like, I would need to, like, watch New Rockstars to kind of
Yeah.
understand, like, what I'm looking at to be on that whatever level that, like, most people seem to be on. Um, there are some issues that I have, and a lot of it's the same thing I said last week with when we talked about Creature Commandos. Um, it's the same James Gunn stuff that we've seen, and I personally don't like the emotional manipulation of using pets and dogs. I think that's lazy. That's laziness. That's honestly laziness. That honestly to me shows that you don't have confidence in your movie.
That's saying a
Or
lot.
or
I
or
mean,
your
I was
skill
just
sets,
pointing
or
out the
your
point
skill
that
sets, because no, it's right now, it's a crutch, it's a crutch, it's a crutch, and honestly, like, I get it, that's his dog and everything, but nah, that and you're gonna go,
that's a
"Oh,
take
James
because
Gunn, he's an animal," I don't care. Make a movie that doesn't have to rely on emotional crutches like that. That's just too easy. That's just too
but that's the
easy.
take because like I wouldn't. I mean, obviously we're saying this is off of a 2 minute clip. I don't think like
Yeah.
Crypto by himself is going to be the MVP of this entire movie. It's just cool to see him. Um,
But I
and
think for
yeah,
the
it's definitely
casual
going to take a
person
new
that
rock
doesn't really
stars
care
for
for
sure.
Superman and they see that dog, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, the dog is so cute, blah blah blah," and it's just
Yeah, they'll be.
like, that is literally that's the only purpose for the dog in the movie is the same reason why he built Guardians of the Galaxy 3 against all animals. It's the same reason he does Commandos with all animals. It's to emotionally manipulate you, and it
Creature
clouds
Commandos is not emotionally manipulative.
but not again. It will, and at some point, because I'm sure there's going to be some type of some kind of Rocket Raccoon kind of storyline that goes on as well. I'm just assuming. I haven't
His
watched past the
motif,
2
yeah,
episodes.
he's very common with the found family motif. That is his thing.
And so
Like you
again,
said, with
like there's a
Suicide
lot
Squad
of
and Creature
again, a lot of
Commandos.
his stories just feels a lot of emotionally manipulative, and that clouds the actual substance of whatever story you're gonna build. So again, Guardians 3? Is it a good movie? Yeah, sure. I think most people put it up there because of the animal manipulation.
Oh, really?
I
um,
honestly believe that.
okay.
If you did
Uh,
that same exact story with humans, people be like, this is trash. But you put some animals in it, and then people are just fucking gummy bears for that
yeah,
shit. And it's like, all right. Like,
yeah.
it's not like I hate animals. It's just the fact that like you're not gonna easy. I'm not that easily manipulated. You got to tell me a good story at the end of the day. And so at the end, right now, I'm at like a 6 with the movie. As far as just seeing the trailer, I'm like, all right.
I'm
It
at
don't
like a
look great. It
seven because
don't
I don't
look
want to make
great.
it
It
seem
don't look
like
bad to me. It looks in the middle, and I don't like the pet.
that's crazy. But yeah, I'd say I'm at like a 7. And if anything, um, that's I like yeah, the motif of his found family is that's like what he does, with Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos and stuff like that. And I feel like there might be or there will be some of that because Superman obviously is an alien. So it's like, oh, him trying to be human, if that's what we're getting at, then it's like he's gonna be the one who stands out the same with like Mr. Terrific and like Hawk Girl and stuff because they're the meta humans, you know what I'm saying? Like we saw in the trailer, he gets a hand throw it at his head and stuff. So people do not love Superman at this point in time. And I agree. Also, I have not been a Superman person. My person is Flash because literally the exact same reason because he's just OP.
Mhm.
But I will say, like the Christopher Reeve, like Superman, like as powerful as those are, like that's the closest thing. Like this trailer, at least, is the closest thing to Christopher Reeve Superman because Superman Returns, I didn't feel that way. Man of Steel was like way more gritty, and we obviously know like the DC extended universe that we just ended with Batman versus Superman and Justice League and all that stuff. So with Henry Cavill, this is the Superman that I am most bonded to immediately, just like the hopefulness of it and
Mm-hmm.
the tone. Besides Christopher Reeve, so that's why I'm looking forward to it the most. And that's all I had to say is that it looks cool and I love how vibrant it is. That's a James Gunn thing, you know. He loves his colors. It was
Yeah.
cool seeing Superman just down in the snow with his red. He got his red trunks back because the whole Henry Cavill run, he didn't have red trunks. He just had like the bleak modern, you know, new 52 all blue look. So
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
think at its best, it could be. This could probably, I think, in tone and style, I think it could be similar to Spider-Man 1.
Mm. What,
Like,
what you mean by Sam Raimi Spider Man?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like, take that and make that a Superman movie. Like, the Sam Raimi-ness of it, I think that's what we might get.
Hmm.
Which, again,
Yeah,
like, Spider-Man 1 is a great movie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, so I think there's gonna be some campiness, I feel like,
Hmm.
within some of the stories and, and whatnot, but I do think it's gonna be interesting when it comes out. Um, like I said, I'm not as high on James Gunn. I'm not saying I don't like him. I just think that like people have a little too much faith in him.
Hmm.
Where I'm like,
But he's been ordained as the savior of DC, I
yeah, he's
guess.
been
Or like
ordained. I'm
it
like,
was
bro, like
it was way too
you've given
uniform.
me
Everybody accepted
Peacemaker,
it.
Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. They're all the same.
Yeah, they're all found family. Exactly.
They're
That's
all
what I
the
was getting
same.
at.
They're all the same. And now Superman could possibly be another one. So there's 5 James Gunn stuff, and it's like you've shown me one tool.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm like, okay, what is else in your bag? What you got in that bag? You know what I'm saying? Like, so nonetheless, I am excited to watch it. I'm hoping it's a good fresh start. What I'm really excited is that they did announce Matt Reeves had a variety kind of actor on actor with Zoe Kravitz. Matt
Yeah,
Reeves, Batman 2 will start filming next year.
perfect.
I'm hyped for that. I'm hyped for that. That's probably one of my favorite Batmans as far
That's
as
my
like
favorite depiction of
characterized
Gotham.
Batman. I think Robin Pattinson has probably the best Batman.
Mm.
Current best Batman since 2000s. I'm not gonna put Michael Keaton in there. I think Michael Keaton's probably the best Batman. But as far as like what we've gotten since 2000s, I think Robert
Better than Bale
Pattinson
and Affleck.
way better than Affleck, way better than Bale. I think it goes Pattinson, Bale, Affleck.
Mm.
And then you could put Pattinson and you could put Bale and Affleck probably closer together. And I think Pattinson's performance was better. I think that was a better version of Bruce Wayne and Batman than I think I've seen in any of the other Batman movies.
Yeah. I ain't mad
So
at that, especially for it to be like that was a tonal shift of Gotham and Batman and himself because we never seen him like that. Also, you know,
yeah.
with him being like we know the inspiration of it being Batman Year One and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, he's still getting his bat legs underneath him, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even when he jumps off of a building and he got those like wobbly ass wings, it's clearly not the billions of dollars of technology yet. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching that for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think that'll probably be
that's
a
all I had to say
2026
though.
release. But yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Let's get into the show. We're like 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Proud is the Howard Hayes Hampton. You're my taxing partner.
French fried fro, booty off the top rope. This is Wrestling Re-Up Podcast.
Weekly stroll through the avenue of wrestling.
Follow our channels on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, all of our social media at the Wrestling Re-Up.
Pick up. And we are back, episode 24, Kobe number. Let's go. Jaden just turned 24. Bring him back to my Commanders. Hopefully, we get a W tomorrow against Philly. We just got big news this morning saying that what we once thought was a guarantee, then last minute Elon and his dumbass wants to misconstrue what the fuck Mega's been working on for over a goddamn year.
Hmm.
Gets that shit taken out, and then it gets approved overnight that hey, the District of Columbia gets back the lease or gets the transfer of the lease of the RK site. So we're one more step closer, a big step closer to getting my Commanders back in DC. That's
Thank
again,
goodness.
yeah, it's only the start, but hey, that's off topic. Welcome to episode 24 of the Wrestling Rehab Podcast. We are back. My name's Samson, here with Moody, and we got a pretty light week to get through. I don't believe we have a pop up, so this is like the first time in like 4 weeks we don't have a pop up show to concern ourselves with. So hopefully we can make this a clean and efficient episode, even though we just wasted 26 minutes talking about nothing.
Yeah.
So should we get into the Saturday
Bigger
night's main
news.
event? Yeah, recap.
Oh yeah. The ass whooping continues. That's the recap, basically.
Yeah, but you know what? I knew I told you like I'm gonna go like last week I was gonna go with my heart. I knew that we weren't gonna have two title switches, and I already it confirmed it to me when the show happened. Michael Cole was like, I think there's only been like two title changes on Saturday night's main event's entire history, and I'm like, well,
Mm.
that ain't happening.
Yeah. Because I mean, what I did say that did come to fruition, where I told you before, I was like, there's got to be a moment though. Like, there's going to be a lasting moment from this, and clearly that lasting moment is Kevin Owens package pile driver, or what Penta El Zero would call fear factor driver, like just spiking him on his head and getting Cody stretchered out, and now we got Kevin Owens as um the winged eagle champion, which is once again history lesson, Samson. This is the same shit Kevin Steen was doing when he was in Ring of Honor, like
Mm,
way back to the Sammy and fucking Kevin Steen
yeah,
rivalry. This is when he was walking around saying I'm the fucking champion when everybody knew he wasn't. He was just a heel. But seeing him at the the WWE headquarters and shit, I thought that was so fucking cute. Obviously, we'll get to that later in the week. But yeah, and even most recently, the last person to do it actually was CM Punk. I don't know if you remember when he got injured and came back and he was like, I never lost this title. And he sprayed a black X on the AEW championship and MJF was champion. And
yeah. I
they
was
had
gonna
to
say I
have a
feel like
unification.
AEW had a similar storyline,
Yes, that's
even
exact.
more recently this year with MJF, right? And
Not this year, but
and
that
Will
was
Ospreay.
yeah. Oh well, yeah. Well, that was the American Championship. He just renamed the title because MJF was being an asshole.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I like seeing Kevin Owens with the winged eagle. Like obviously, just immediate feelings of Stone Cold. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? It's like, God damn. But let me just run this down real quick. That's the big thing. But uh Cody retains versus KO, obviously. We were both wrong with the Michin prediction, thinking that she was going to win because she's an American, but nah.
Yeah.
Gunther retaining against Damian Priest, and Liv Morgan retaining against Io Sky, and Drew McIntyre Claymoring Sammy's face off.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, predictable show for the most part. I mean, again, the least predictable thing, I guess, was like you could call it least predictable, and I'll still hold to that. This the Chelsea Green Michin match. I think that was probably like the most. I think that was the most like engaging match throughout the night
yeah.
because there was actual real stakes to the match.
Mm,
But I knew it was over when I heard the crowd was cheering for Chelsea. I was like, damn.
yeah.
But hey, at the end of the day, we talked about it. It's a win-win for both of us. Like, because we wanted either one of them to win. If we had our personal choice, it probably would have been Michin. But I think even in the long run, I think it helps out Michin in the long run. I think she'll eventually be able to hold that title.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
But
surprised if she's next.
because now I'm ready. I mean, do you think I don't think Chelsea's going to change at all as far as character, even though she's U.S. champion. She's already like an arrogant, like, I don't want to just keep using the crutch word of sniveling heel, but she hides behind Piper Niven. Like, I'm sure she will still be hiding behind Piper with the championship. So it's like, she might like brag a little bit more, like get a segment to, be like, oh, I'm US champ and stuff. She's going to be running away from everybody. So I'll be happy to see
It
that for
might,
sure.
but the way they finished the match was pretty nice when she
Yeah.
did the flip off the top turnbuckle right into the unprettier.
Yeah.
That was a sick finish. That was a sick finish. And then
Yeah. I'm not,
not to jump ahead to SmackDown, but she had a little quick promo, and she was like, "Yeah, and I'm wearing the U.S. title, blah blah blah, representing the red, the white, and the
and
green."
green. Yeah.
I was like, "She wants Blue Streak. She wants
Martin.
Blue
Yeah, of
Streak."
course. Hmm.
So again, I think she's like, "Yes, I'm the first Canadian to win the United States Championship or whatever," and it's like, all right, keep disrespecting our belt. We'll deport your ass back to Canada.
Right. But yeah, I hope she
No,
doesn't change. I think it'll just enhance her character. Like I said, it is
yeah,
the mid card title, so it's like, hey, we got those gimmicks work for a reason. They should stay in the mid card, and like at least they got something to fight for now. So
yeah. I do think overall the show, I think it was a fun show, but it also made me realize I was like, oh, okay, like this show's not for us and like
hmm
the weekly watcher of wrestling. This is definitely for the casual person that hasn't watched wrestling in so long that it's like, hey, let me get a quick 10-minute matches in it because all these matches are fairly quick.
yeah,
And the one thing that they left us off with for the hardcore weekly watcher was the package was the package pile driver,
hmm
which happened after the show.
yeah, true. Yeah, that's something to be said about that. I guess I know. Oh, Masked Man, they were talking about. He was like, that was his issue with it. Kaz was just like, maybe like if that's your exclamation point, maybe that you should show us that.
Yeah,
Unless you're like still trying to play this like kayfabe line like in production where it's like, oh, it's so graphic that we don't want to show this to people and you just got to find it, and it's like, well, like that's the hook of it anyway. The same way, I mean, granted, the social media team is going to work, or people, our fans are going to do their work on social media, like
yeah,
Kevin Owens beating the shit out of Cody next to the truck, so that's going to happen. But if you got like the cherry on top at the end, just give us the cherry on top. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's going to be a moment, and it was happening, but they didn't show it to us. So I think
yeah.
that's strange, but it's fine. We
It
know
was a
about
good
it
show. It
regardless.
was a good show. It was we talked about this before. It's like, where do we put this out? Like, do we even grade this or predict it like it's a PLE, or do we treat it like Crown Jewel and just skip it?
Could be a crown jewel if this is the case. Yeah.
You would consider this a Crown Jewel?
But yeah, I didn't want
Would
to.
we
I
do
didn't want
this?
to.
Will we do this next month? Will
I
we
wouldn't.
predict next month?
I mean, if you want to, it doesn't matter to me. My foot is all the way up your ass right now as far as predictions. But I mean, for
Nah,
me, yeah, it was
record
the same thing.
agnostic.
Yeah. I'm agnostic on this, honestly, truly. Where I'm like, this one felt big because it just been the first one in a few years. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, okay, if we were gonna predict one, this would be the one. But we're gonna get a seasonal, like Saturday night's main event,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not doing title changes. Yes, it just becomes Crown Jewel. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just for the
We'll
NBC.
give it at least like one or two more tries and be like, all right, if this is just an elevated house show, then
Mhm.
we'll just discuss it. But I overall, it was a fun show. It was nice to see the legends and whatnot, and yeah, getting people more back into wrestling. So I took the loss, 1-8-3-1, or
Mhm.
1-8-3, and you're 8-1-3. So
Yep.
long ways to go. Long ways to go for me to catch up. But
Well,
I
speaking of
did
that,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna just do the transition for you, but like since
Yeah.
he wanted to give package pile drivers out to people, I guess he thought he was gonna do that with no repercussions. But Triple H comes out, you have this written as Triple H gonna get some fines, huh?
No, he needs to. He needs to. So for anybody that hasn't seen it, after, Kevin Owens gave the package pile driver to Cody, Kevin's walking out up the ramp. He's holding the Wing Eagle title belt. Out of nowhere, Triple H, CCO, comes out and gets all up in Kevin's face. And then he puts hands on Kevin first. He pushed him multiple times. How does Triple H not get suspended? How is he not fined? I'm surprised that Kevin this week did not file a complaint, an HR complaint. The Rock and the TKO board needs to do something about this. And then honestly, to even go back further, Sean is the exact same thing. Because he put hands on Eddie Thorpe when he didn't even have all the answers. He just jumped in and made and was like, just assume shit and then start putting hands. I'm sorry. You guys are not wrestlers. You guys are their bosses. And the fact that Triple H puts his hands on Kevin, that you got to be fined or suspended for that. I'm sorry. That is inappropriate. And I'm not the only one that's saying this. I put the clip up down below. Mark Henry and Bubba both agree with me. That's inappropriate. That is inappropriate to be putting your hands on talent like that, especially when you're their boss. Now, if it was the other way around, if Kevin hit Triple H first, by all means. But at that point, Triple H had touched him 3 times.
I think it's so funny. Yeah, and we have this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm done.
Oh no, I'm just getting caught up. Obviously, we're saying this in kayfabe because I'm just like, this line of demarcation is so ridiculous that like a 14-time champion can't push somebody because he's COO or a CCO, whatever it is, Chief Content Officer, right? I just think it's fucking hilarious. Like we have to pretend that Triple H is Paul Levesque. You know what I'm saying? Like
he is Paul Levesque. He ain't Triple H.
I get you, but I'm saying like it's literally one and the same. So it's like you gotta like, in order for this to work, like prove Kevin's point, you gotta suspend your disbelief in that. Like he's no longer Triple H, right? But to me, it's just nothing but like
dude got a pacemaker on. If Kevin put his hands on him, he would be
super old Triple H versus, the young Stone Cold Rock or Stone Cold 2.0. You know what I'm saying? And I was about to beat you there, but it's like, this man had a cardiac event, a year and a half or whatever ago. So I'm glad that he feels that healthy to do it. But I don't want him to get physical. Personally, I don't need to see another Triple H pedigree. I mean, like the one when he did it to Daniel Bryan for the Yes Movement and giving Randy Orton the disputed titles. I think that was clear enough or good enough as his last authority, like, pedigree emphatic one. But either way, yes, you're right. He shouldn't have put his hands on him. Fines, yeah. Fine is definitely reasonable. They're not going to suspend Triple H. He runs the goddamn shows. So maybe he'll get fined. What's the number for Triple H? What's the number for Triple H, you think, on a fine? You got to make it.
Being this like is a first offense. Being a first offense, I would say 50,000.
50K? Yeah, okay, yeah. I was like, because you got to hit it in a number that Triple H got it, because we know Triple H ain't hurting for money. Like he's running the show, so like.
But no, honestly, like a suspension should be considered.
This is where
even if it's for 2 weeks, that is inappropriate. Honestly, this is where, you got to get fined and suspended without pay. Like, that's bullshit.
This is where Kevin would say that he's right again, or people would say that he's right again because, it's like Triple H coming to the defense of Cody and all this stuff. Like, you're getting physical with me. And also, just proving KO's point more so that, like, Cody is the golden boy. You're going to do anything to protect him and stuff. You're freaking out because now he's in a stretcher, basically. So,
and Cody cheated. Segment. Cody cheated.
No.
So okay.
It wasn't attempted. He didn't attempt to cheat first. It's a flattening. It's an evening of the
knock out the
scale
twice.
Yeah, right.
You did the Cody cutter. You did not the Cody cutter. You did the what's the giant where he
disaster kick?
No, the finisher where he flips you around.
Crossroads.
Crossroads, yeah. On a chair.
Yep.
That's the champion that y'all want. Go ahead. Ain't my champion.
All right. Like, we just get this flip out of like, I understand we waiting for the hard R, but you're just like, all right, yep, this week I'm coming in hot. Cody's not the champion anymore.
Hey,
Fuck it.
you labeled me Dr. Evil last week in our group chat. That I'm like, hey, I'm gonna lean into it. I'm gonna lean into it. Austin Powers. Let's get into
Yeah,
the
right.
flagship show. I think this is probably WWE's probably best show of the week out of the three.
It
We'll start
was
off with
for sure.
our best thing that we both agree on is Primo. We finally got them goddamn tag team titles off of Judgment Day. Congratulations, War Raiders, for winning the tag team championships. We got the tag titles on an actual legit tag team champions. So shout out to that. It was a great match, and knowing the real circumstances between the War Raiders from the health concerns and things of that nature is good to see that they got to this point and are going to be tag team champions. And I feel like similar to MCMG, they're going to hold it for, well, not MCMG, but I do think these title belts are going to be these title belts are going to be held within like actual tag teams rather than just mashups and factions. So I'm all for that, and I think this is going to get the tag team division a good start, a good push into the
jump start. Yeah, for sure. I agree. The same thing. I'm sure you watched the interview with him and Kathy Kelly, like afterwards. The quick like minute and a half, 2 minutes, and obviously these guys, we know that they're heavyweights. They're both like 240 plus. Like, damn, Ibar sounds like a goddamn sweetheart. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, that's clearly why they don't let him talk, because when you hear his voice, the voice doesn't match the outside, and you're like, okay. You're like, oh, he's actually a nice guy. He would be described as a teddy bear for sure. But glad that the War Raiders, hit War Machine. Yeah, that like springboard clothesline into like the German suplex. Love that.
Yeah, we got to get more good like tag team finishers, man. Like it's been a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Your other Primo, I had this as my top mid, was the Punk and Rollins promo.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just the reason that it's a mid is because it's like, we know that this is happening. Or I guess there's an argument to it being in Primo, just because like, all right, now we're finally on this course. You know what I mean? Where we saw this last year. But I guess it's in that same point for me where it's like, yeah, well, we knew that this was going to happen. So I think it's just like in that same point of like where we got to the ending of Drew and CM Punk, where I was like, yeah, let's just see the match already. I can't like just do this anymore. So we'll just have them at, I'm pretty sure, like a net like mid slightly positive just until the match happens.
Yeah, I mean,
they both can just do it forever.
I have no disagreement with you putting this in mid. Honestly, if I didn't have my bias in this, it'd probably a mid rising. But because I thought the fighting afterwards that like leaked into the stands like multiple times, I thought it was a little too much.
Yeah,
for my liking. But I do think anytime these two guys have a mic battle, it's hard not to put it in Primo. They're usually saying something good and with value. And then I do think the difference between the Drew and the CM Punk compared to this is that, yes, we know that they're going to be fighting at, Raw on Netflix debut. But again, this is probably going to be WrestleMania match, right? And so if you think about the next kind of benchmarks that we have the Raw on Netflix debut. There's a Saturday night's main event that's coming up, which I don't know if they're going to do anything for that. Might as well wait till the Royal Rumble, which I assume both of them are going to be in the Royal Rumble. They're probably going to run it back, kind of what they did last year, if I remember correctly. Like they'll eliminate one another, which will then get them into the path of, WrestleMania. So this is more so like, again, if I was being objective, it's probably a mid-rising, but I do think, with my Seth favoritism and then just my overall excitement for this match, I bump it up to a Primo. So I'm not too far off from you. It's probably more like a mid-rising, but my personal bias.
Also for me, I'd say I don't know if Gunther is still champion in WrestleMania, because it's like this is the whole point in Punk coming back is like to get his, like he said it, is to be WrestleMania main event spot, right? We
Mhm.
don't know that those are for the titles, and this rivalry is a de facto rivalry to be number one contender, right? So we're gonna get whoever's gonna be number one contender after Raw and Netflix, and then directly after that is what, Saturday Night Main Event. We'll get
Mhm.
that match. If Punk, I mean, either one, it doesn't matter who wins, Seth or Punk, whoever wins, I would have them favored in that match, in that Saturday Night Main Event match, if that's where it's happening at, or I guess Royal Rumble, because what could be better? The only thing that can boost this rivalry already is just the title. You know what I'm saying? And I agree that we don't need the title right now, like because we've been building this up for a year,
Yeah.
but we're in WrestleMania season, like you said, we're on the road to WrestleMania, and CM Punk is here for the main event. So if we get like a CM Punk is the champion going in and Seth has to dethrone him, I think that's something that'll piss Seth off nothing more than anything. You know what I'm saying? Or the other way around. Either way works for me.
Yeah.
But I think it would be way more effective with Seth being the chaser, just because he's obviously in his prime and we don't see CM Punk actually being champion for an extended period of time. So it'd be best for it to just be a storyline kind of nugget to put somebody else over, I think.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm
just
not
my little production.
I'm not mad at that. I can definitely see them trying to go after Gunther and somehow Gunther getting put into this, especially because he seems to be available for a new storyline, opponents and whatnot. I kind of go back to the same thought that I had last week when we talked about this. I'm like, is the World Heavyweight Championship the right championship for Seth and Punk to be fighting over?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, Seth would definitely say yes, even in kayfabe. He's the one who built up that
Yeah,
title. He's the first
yeah,
champion. So there's no way that he would be like, oh, I don't want that belt or I want the WWE championship, you know, and CM Punk can't stand Seth. So, you know
but
what I'm
the
saying? He
issues
knows
are
that,
also with like Roman. And, and
sure,
obviously
but we know
Roman doesn't
that's a
have
way.
that belt. Roman doesn't have the belt, but, you imagine maybe there is something tied around that where that seems like more of the belt they should be focusing on is the Undisputed Championship rather than the Heavyweight Championship. Though I get why you still wanna prop up the Heavyweight Championship as well. So, I'm not mad at it. I just would prefer them to be focusing on the Undisputed Championship rather than the Heavyweight Championship.
At least if anything, it's making it feel important for sure. This is the most important rivalry that this belt has had at this point in time. I mean, it's funny
Yeah.
because we're not even neither one of them is holding it. So, but
Yeah.
it's clearly for that belt. So that's where it's like, if this makes it feel important, and it's raising the prestige as we're going through this story. Like that's why
Yeah.
you bring back CM Punk, because it's hard for Seth to be rose to any other level when he's Seth freaking Rollins. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
He
he is
still ain't
arguably the
lose to
best
Roman
wrestler
though.
in the
That's
world.
what I'm saying.
So
He
it's
ain't lose
hard
to
to do that.
Roman. That's why my whole thing. I'm like, he ain't never lose to Roman during his comeback.
Mm,
He had
and
one match with them and it was at the Royal Rumble like 2, 3 years ago, and I believe he did not lose that match. And
yeah,
so I'm like, man, like you did the heavyweight championship. Go get your title. Go be the WWE Undisputed Champion. Like
hmm
again, that's just my Seth Rollins bias. That's my Seth Rollins bias just leaking in.
uh, in the mid, we both got Zoe Stark advancing in
Yeah.
the women's intercontinental. I mean, this was the prediction, though, right? I mean, just looking at these
Nah.
three, it was Raquel
I
Rodriguez
picked
and
Ra
Caden
I
Carter.
would have picked Raquel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Zoe, I think, well, Zoe is like one of the best workers. Clearly, like that's what Pure Fusion Collection is. They're like really good workers who all can't talk. You know what I'm saying?
Shayna can
So
talk. It's not Shayna. Sonya can talk. Sonya.
Sonya,
Yeah.
exactly. She was
Yeah.
GM on SmackDown years ago. We know that she can talk. That's why they put them together. But like back in NXT, Zoe Stark can fucking go, dog.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching her then, I was like, oh, she can go on the main roster right now. And she has held up her end of the bargain, at least definitely as far as like in-ring work and shit. So I'm like, if she ends up being the women's IC champion and inaugural, I ain't mad at it. Because if anything, that establishes, I don't want to say establishes her character, because it's like, yeah, we still got to know like who you are outside of a great wrestler, but it'll open that door for her. But I'm just saying that to say that the match was better than I thought it was gonna be.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would say just looking at those three, Raquel is the biggest. So yeah, like outside looking at, you'd be like, yeah, Raquel should win this, but for sure, we both agree that Caden was winning this. But that's the sad
That
part.
sucks
But
too. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
like Caden too, but again, I was surprised. I put this in mid rising because I was genuinely surprised to see Zoe Stark win. I thought this was a clear given that Raquel was going to win this. So the
yeah,
fact that birthday sis, shout out Zoe Stark, advanced
hmm,
to in the women's intercontinental championship makes sense, and I like it. Um, though it seems like we're going to be having a pure fusion collection damage control feud, which will
mm,
then kind of get Zoe Stark kind of taken out,
yeah,
which would then lead us to Lyra just getting her title. So
yeah,
it's nice that Zoe got the win. In the long term, it just leads you to a feud that you're going to be feuding with damage control rather than
yeah,
focusing on the IC title. At least that's how I'm future projecting it right now. Hopefully, it plays out different. So
yeah,
either way, like it's a great win, and I do think it gives you more credibility in the near future to be like have claim that like, hey, I got screwed out of my title chances
yeah.
because of damage control or Raquel or whoever it may be. So you know, small, but hopefully it's something that they can snowball into actually something substantive, something worthwhile.
Something substantial. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Substantial, yeah, in
Yeah,
the near future. Another thing that I liked as well, and this is purely for the match sake, is Braun Breaker over Ludwig Kaiser.
yeah.
Still not entirely sold on Braun. He's still it's
You're
a
not
little
sold on
too
Braun.
it's a little too generic for me.
Okay, you're sold on him. You just want more personality. Because I said we've definitely Braun has been over with us. You're not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you haven't been fucking with Braun. Like you fucked with Braun like up to this point.
Not really. They think there's certain things that I do like about Braun. I like there's a bit of like again, I don't know if he's doing it intentionally or it's just how happens to be the thing, but I like when he does his little Scott Steinerisms. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like I like that. I do think he has the skill sets in the ring. Again, to your point, personality wise, he's a little too generic for me.
I
Um,
think yeah, he's definitely is generic, but I think it's interesting for him, like in the fact, like because I think honestly his character is the fact that he is a Steiner, and like he's
mhm,
aware of that, which is why he leans into the Steinerisms and stuff like that. But he's also like making my own way, which is why I'm Braun Breaker. I'm not fucking Braun Steiner. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But in comparison to everybody else where they have like ongoing rivalries or whatever the fuck, like Braun is just all business. He's just like, I'm just gonna show up and beat your ass. You know what I'm saying? And I think it can be that simple for him. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm IC champion and I'm just gonna defend this title. So that is like, I'll say that doesn't feel like a crutch to me. Like if that is like what he's doing right now, just because that feels in lockstep with like who he has been up to this point. And I will say, if anything, I love this Braun Breaker a lot more than NXT 2.0 Braun Breaker as face. You know what I'm saying? Now he's just sitting in tweener badass, like
yeah.
just to do what I got to do to get it done.
He's
Because
not good or
I'm
he's
not going to
not
be
bad.
upset.
He's just like, yeah, he's just like, I'm here to whoop ass and take names or
Exactly.
whatever.
I'm just here to whoop ass. So it's like, I'm not going to be upset if one of those super spears, one of those times he has like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, I was like, you remember when Goldberg tried to spear Bret Hart and he had that fucking like metal plating
Plate.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he does the reverse of that and puts like a metal helmet on and spears somebody like in the gut, like I'm not mad at that because it's like, yeah, he can do that if he wants to. He's just here to
Yeah.
inflict pain. But that's my understanding of his character so far. Uh, I'll run through my shake real quick. Just live. Finally, I guess them getting a brain coming out to the ring just with the megaphone. It's literally just for the megaphone. And it's like, all right, well, we knew he was gonna get booed out of the building. And Rhea calling Dom chicken tender slut. She's number
Yeah.
one contender. We knew
I
that.
almost had this as Shake as well. I debated it between Shake and Reggie, and then I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be nice and not mention it at all. because
because
I'm
Liv's
just
character is
done.
just being obnoxious. She's
Yeah,
just
I'm
being
just done.
obnoxious, and it's just like, all right. But the fact that she got a megaphone just to like drown them out, I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a real asshole. And then my last shake I had was the little vignette of Dexter Loomis finally talking, mind you, because he never spoke in NXT. You know, he was the stalker serial killer husband of Indy Hartwell, one
Yes.
half of Index. So hearing him talk was just eerie as shit to me. But they have a match next week, or he has a match versus Miz next week. And it made it just for the fact that he talked. Because I was like, I've never heard him, literally never heard him speak. So I felt like that was at least worth mentioning. So
Definitely worth mentioning. Hopefully, it's not a one time only thing. It's like you
yeah.
remember the first time we heard Kane talk.
Yeah,
Now, now it's like, damn, I
and he
wish we
puts it
just
on
kept.
his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, damn, we should have let that nigga never talk.
Right. Oh shit. Next day,
Let's
Tuesday.
Yeah, let's move over to Tuesday, to the bodega. But before we walk into the bodega, I brought this up a few months ago. For our first guest, I said I wanted to have Obafemi have,
Mhm.
uh, as our first guest on the Wrestling Rehab podcast. And I don't know if you heard this interview
I did.
that he did with the Wednesday Worldwide, but it was a great interview. Not just for this portion of the interview that we're about to talk about, but just in general, he was a great interview. He's a movie guy, big
She
movie
did
guy.
say that.
I'm like, oh, so you telling me there's an in? You just tell me I just gotta start my movie joint and then get him to subscribe to our channel and
There
watch
you go.
deep dives, and then he's like, "Oh, I know that brother. I want to be on his wrestling show."
Hey, before you know it, then he's on Back to the Movies doing House of R deep dives and shit.
Right? Like, let's go. But what really stood out to me in the entire interview was Oba was asked about his current rivalry with Trick Williams and what does it mean to him. And he brought up he gave a great explanation of it that even surprised the interviewers that were asking him, because it was a very thoughtful response, and it wasn't as if it blended the line between kayfabe and shoot really well, where it's like this sounds very shoot, but is also could be a work. But basically, he compared Trick Williams and himself. He said he called himself a pro wrestler while Trick was the sports entertainer. And he basically said he wants to know who the real top guy in the NXT is, the pro wrestler or the entertainer. He says he will do a better job at pushing the legitimacy of the sport of pro wrestling as NXT champion. And again, there's a little bit of shoot in this response into how he kind of answered it, but there was very much kayfabe. You could be like, oh, he's taking shots at Trick, but I do think like Trick is a good wrestler, but like we talked about, like I brought up last week, he reminds me of Black Dynamite when he cuts his promos, and
Mhm.
that's a little bit more inherently the sports entertainer in Trick Williams. Well, Obafemi, is he a sports entertainer? Yes, he is entertaining in his own
He
unique
definitely
way.
is. Yeah.
He's entertaining in his own unique way. It's just not as boisterous as maybe you might see from The Rock or someone like Trick Williams. But it was a very good response, and I'm like, hey man, that's my dog right there, Obafemi. I tell you, I said it last week. He's going to dog wash Trick Williams for that title. This confirms it.
Yeah, and part of that interview also, what I thought was important is that I think right before that question, or like the way he sets it up, he was like, in this case, I actually agree with Gunther, which I just
Hmm.
thought that phrasing was great. Where I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, like you said, blending that line of like kayfabe and like, because clearly in kayfabe, Gunther is like, oh, this mat is sacred and all that stuff like that, right? But very good response, very great interview. I thought I still can't. I'm not gonna say I can't wrap my mind around it. I just wouldn't bet on a squash. I wouldn't be surprised because obviously we're talking about weight advantage and stuff like that. But for him to be two-time in it, like it ain't Kofi Kingston. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't Kofi and Brock. This is a two-time NXT champion. So if they were to do that, then you're just making a statement. You're making a way bigger statement than what happened to Kofi and Brock. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like Kofi clearly is out of his league. You know what I'm saying?
I told you
This would be
he's gonna get
resetting.
injured. He's gonna have like some rib issues. He's gonna be taped up going into that match, and
So
it's
you're
just gonna
protecting
be
Trick
like,
before them.
yeah,
Okay,
you're
that's saying
definitely
something
protecting
else.
him. Huh? I said that last week.
I don't remember what you say last week. We talking now, nigga.
I
What
said
are you
that they
talking?
go. I said he was gonna get a protected loss, and then he's gonna get drafted or transferred over to Raw or SmackDown, and he's probably not gonna have to show up because he was on
Mhm.
injured. So,
Yeah.
but what are your thoughts on his delineation between pro wrestler and sports entertainer and how he sees himself versus Trick?
I thought, well, that's why I brought up the Gunther thing. Immediately, my thought is like, heel? Like, heel? Just because I would put Obafemi in that Braun Breaker tweener. You know what I'm saying? He just does what he does. And if you're in the way, then you're in the way. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see that as a heel thing for him, obviously. But it's definitely accurate for sure. Like, I think Obafemi, he just comes off like less produced, less polished. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Where it's like you can feel the promo lessons in Trick. You know what I'm saying? Like in his cadence. So
Yeah.
that's the difference between the two. With that being said, I think that's also why Obafemi can fumble over his words, or like when you hear like wrestlers like when they come up with stuff like in the moment, like that can be very hit or miss. And for wrestlers, I think that hits a lot better. Like when you can get something like that off, like when you have Seth and CM Punk in the ring, obviously those are two of the fucking best in both of these categories ever. So it's hard to bring that up. But like Obafemi, like when he told Adriana Rizzo, "Hey, women should be seen, not heard," like shit like that. I'm like, yo, like as a sports entertainer saying that, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Oba just came up with that as far as like his character. So I agree with him in that sense. But yeah, it was a great interview. I think he was on to something there, basically.
It made me excited to eventually get him on this show as an interview because I was like, I don't even listen to a lot of the interviews, and to be fair, it's not because of like I don't care for what these. It's more so for my own thing. It's wrestler dependent. If I want to if I want to break my suspension of disbelief, you know,
Yeah.
some wrestlers I'm like I definitely want to like if they got Jacob Fatu, I don't know if I want to hear Jacob Fatu outside of character.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen
It's
his
not
interviews
saying
out
that
of
he doesn't have
character.
anything valuable to say. It's just like I want to continue to suspend my disbelief
Mhm.
that this dude doesn't speak. This dude doesn't say anything but 3 words
Yeah.
or 4 words.
At
I
least when
love
he's
you,
at work,
Solo.
for sure. Yeah. When he's at work, it's only about love and Solo.
Yeah. But let's get into the bodega. Um, I came home after the show started, and when I immediately turned it on and I saw where they were at, I was like, "Oh, that's the place. That's the same place Shawn Michael lost his smile."
Hmm.
I put that in our shake, and this is before the Ethan Page stuff happened. So I'm just glad that I was right because I had that in my primo. First of all, shout out to Lowell Mass, and this is literally I put the clip in the here. This is 1997. Shawn Michaels
Yeah, so relinquish the title.
relinquishes the title and says that he lost
Mhm.
his smile. It's debate of the reason why he did it, but nonetheless, that should have been a clear giveaway that something exactly like that was going to happen tonight, and it did. When Ethan Page came out and literally said the line, "I lost my smile." Um, that eventually had Javon Evans come out, and Ethan
Big
Page
him
ended
up,
up.
big him up, big him up first. He came out there as a face to be like, yo, Ethan, you don't gotta be all sad and shit. Like, we got faith in you. Like, he came out there to big him up and be like, we fuck with you. Like, NXT is proud of you. Like, that's important context. He came out there to like
I'm gonna let you
lift
out,
his
yeah.
spirits.
Hey, and
But
Javon Evans again, even after the Survivor Challenge, what's it
and
called?
Survivor.
Iron Survivor. Like he got in a little. He's been playing this happy-go-lucky guy. You know, even in losses, like he can find the positive in things, and that got him into a little bit of a squabble with Wesley the last couple weeks, and then it seems like it kind of got under Ethan Page's skin. But yeah, Ethan Page ended up Breaking Javon Evans' jaw, putting his head between a chair and stomping on it. I thought it was done really well. And again, Shawn Michaels, living his past lives and bringing it to 2024. I thought it was done well. It was a clear giveaway. Like I said, as soon as I walked in, I literally just turned it on at NXT. I was like, that's the place that Shawn Michaels lost
Clear,
his smile.
clear giveaway for wrestling historians, because that
Yeah,
was not on my mind at all, like at all. So like when I saw you post it, like you posted it very quickly, and I was
yeah.
just like, oh damn, like because I vaguely remembered this. I remember him relinquishing the title, but like threading the needle of like using that line of like losing a smile into like you know doing the chair angle of like the broken neck / broken jaw spot we've seen,
Yeah.
over time. Yeah, that was crazy. Did not see it. I did not see that coming. I'll just go ahead and say that.
I said,
So it's just like,
I just noticed the building. That's what it was. I didn't know this was
mhm,
going to happen, but when it did happen, I wasn't surprised. But then I was like, it also was done really well. So
yeah,
primo, primo. Like I
yeah,
said,
for
the
sure. It
building
was
was a
the
clear
best thing
giveaway
on.
because the building is it has the look. It does.
Yeah,
It didn't change. If you look at it in the 1997 video, it's literally the same building. Like,
well, yeah.
but it was done well. It was done well. Hey, you have any
So I
more
guess
thoughts?
we ain't gonna see Javon for a while. That was my last thought. He
Yeah,
got
he
a
looked like he
broken
was
neck,
really
so
he was really bleeding on that, or like
yeah.
maybe he had like a little blood pill in his mouth or something like that. But it
Hey,
looked
don't give
like it
away the
was.
business. Don't give away the business, dog. That was real blood. He was coughing that shit
Hey,
up.
like I
Come on
said,
now.
I'm trying to figure it out because that shit was dripping on the mat. I was like, oh, okay, okay, that's interesting.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, it's the
uh,
best spot since we had the best blood spot we've had since what Bronson Reed wiping out Seth Rollins, right?
oh yeah,
Internal bleeding, coughing
yeah,
up
yeah, with
blood.
the
So
7 tsunamis, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you know what I hope what this does for Javon when he does come back is just it gives him a IDAF IDAGF attitude
yeah, hmm
where it's just like, yeah, I've been nice to y'all a little too much, and now I'm about to get up in y'all face.
yeah.
They
He'll
ain't no
take three.
this happy go lucky, happy to be here, Javon Evans is done for. And now
Yeah,
I'm
let
coming
him
at you next.
like let him take off like 4 months until it's like take over WrestleMania, and then he's just
Mhm.
been doing nothing but steroids and working out for like 4 months straight, and he comes back and he's like the same size as Ethan Page. I would love that. We just got to put like 40 pounds on him literally in 4 months.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
other primo, this was best wrestling, like for sure on the show. Fraxium retaining versus Gallus.
Mhm.
And also the reason that this is in primo is because Axiom, he was pulling double duty, dog. Like he's
They've
already
been
like a
pulling double
great
duty
luchador.
like the last 2
Yeah.
weeks, and I'm like, bruh.
Yep. For them to squeeze these out, I'm so proud of them. Like Jesus Christ, like Axiom got thrown over. I guess we'll talk about both right now. Fuck it. But I had this in my mid. But Obafemi versus Axiom, how do you think that went? Yeah, it went only exactly one way,
Yeah.
which is Axiom getting tossed around the ring and getting hit with a fall from grace. So he even starts the match late and all taped up and stuff. I thought like his acting was really good, and that pointed it out to me because I'm like, Axiom's a luchador. You can't even see his face, but I can feel like you know what I'm saying. I can feel like the gestures and stuff where he's just like He's like because Nathan Frazier at a point, he's carrying the load for the tag team because he's like, oh, like let tag me in, and like, or he's like tag in, and Axiom's like, nah, dog, that fall from grace hurt. Like he's like, you got it, like hold out for me for a little bit, but either way, just like the resiliency, tag team resiliency badge, that just went up another notch. That's like gold. It's not Sammy level, but they got like a
Yeah.
gold level resiliency badge as a tag team. So
How long do you
uh,
think this lasts for them?
I don't know because
Do you think like
Gallus,
this kind of creates animosity between like partners being like, bruh, like it seems like one they're trying to go after individual stuff, but then you're a tag team, so you have obligations. How many times is one person always gonna be coming in with bruised ribs and then the other person's gotta be lifting up the weight?
I think it's just like any other sport. Winning fixes everything. If they still champions, it don't matter. Like you can go off and do a solo album if you want to. If we still multi-platinum, then it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that, but you still gotta dedicate the time to get to multi-platinum, right? You still gotta
Hey, they
dedicate the time to win. You can't be
well,
like,
that's what
"Oh, bruh, I just had a match earlier in the day, so I'm gonna go 25% while you go 75." It's like, "Nah, bruh. Shouldn't have that
mhm,
match if you couldn't do it."
right? But yeah, that Phoenix Splash, I love a good Phoenix Splash. Seth needs to do that more often, also. But Nathan Frazier probably has the best Phoenix Splash right now.
Yeah.
Um, my mids, or let's go to the mid that we agreed on. The Metaphor girls, Jakara and Lash over Zarya and Sol Ruka. I like this just because it was, I mean, you gotta feature the women, right? Because this was
Mhm.
clearly a it didn't feel crammed in, but get as many women on as you can when you just got one segment with them, right? So uh I'm glad that the that Lash and Jakara actually won. They are the
Same.
more established, as I know we agree on this. They should be going to SmackDown pretty soon. Um so even just the simple like, oh, can they coexist between Zarya and Sol Ruka is fine enough for me because it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, they can be faces and have that storyline because guess what? They don't know each other.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, the thing, like, I would say they have the most talented women's division. I still agree with that. NXT women's division is the most talented, like, bang for your buck. Like, holy shit, look at all these names, right? But at the same time, Zarya don't talk, Sol Ruka don't talk. None of these women are talking. So I'm just gonna keep noticing. I said that last week. So because the only woman we're getting time to talk is Roxanne Perez as champion, sure.
Jada Parker.
And yeah. Oh yeah, Jada gets it. So
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that is kind of the reason why I have this here as well is the fact that the actual tag team beat a non-tag team. Because on
exactly.
paper, you look at this and you see Zarya and Sol Ruka versus Jakara and Lash. You're like, well, Zarya and Sol Ruka were both literally fighting for an NXT Women's Championship fight match. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, we know at least these two. And Lash was in that match as well, right? Or did she not make that? The Iron Survivor?
So
Lash, Lash
no,
was in the Iron Survivor,
last
right?
no, she wasn't. No.
She was in the IC. She was in the US Championship,
US,
or
yeah, she substituted. Yeah.
yeah. But either way, you just on paper, you look at Zarya and Soul versus Jakara and Lash, and you be like, oh yeah, while Jakara and Lash might be an actual tag team, these two are just it's like putting Becky and Charlotte together, for a lack of better
Hmm.
terms, right? It's like, yeah, you're not a tag team, but you're Becky and Charlotte, so
Yeah.
you're gonna
Your
get the win.
individual greatness will carry you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad that that didn't happen in this case. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, you know, they Jakar and Lash haven't had like the most like as far as winning success the last couple weeks. So it's good to see them actually get the win over, two very highly qualified competitors in a match that should be favored in. And
Yeah,
so I'm glad
absolutely.
that and the technical favorites actually won rather than the paper favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And not for nothing, like I was already like, because either one of those finishers, like a soul snatcher or one of Daria's spear or F5s, that's what I was afraid of because I'd like that would put either one of them down like in kayfabe. You're like one and done, either one of those.
Mhm.
Like the soul snatcher has been so protected that I was pretty nervous throughout the match. So yeah. Just last iteration. I'm glad that the tag team actually won. So my shake, the main event, which Eddie Thorpe and Trick going to a double pinfall for the NXT title, and like two refs counting two separate pinfalls. I just
Yeah.
thought was like super overdone. Where I'm just
Yeah.
like, y'all couldn't have like. Immediately, my thought was, oh, okay, y'all are just stretching this out for the pay per view cycle or whatever the fuck. I'm like, y'all couldn't have got there a better way. That was just my thought because like you're clearly holding off. Like Oba should be the one, as we agree that Oba should be the one to take the title off of him. So you're just stretching this out with Eddie Thorpe. And I'm like, he already wasn't believable for me. So the fact that we go from who like Eddie Thorpe putting hands on Ava to Eddie
He
Thorpe
didn't
getting his
put
ass
hands on
beat.
Ava.
I know. I'm just going with like
Yeah.
Sean's thought.
Yeah.
So put hurting Ava to getting his ass beat to guess what? Nobody beat my ass. I just did that myself because it was going to get me a title shot,
Bull playing
like you
cotton.
said. But yeah, bold plan. All right, sure, whatever. To this super deserved title shot now the champion drew with me because I actually pinfalled him. Like, nah, I should be champion. But dog, like
I agree
this
with
sucks
you.
for Eddie
This is pretty
Thorpe
much. I
as
don't
a
have it listed here.
character
It's fake.
because yeah, because Eddie Thorpe as the character, he's just becoming like the he's the tool of stretching this out, I guess. Like, and you can see it from week to week where I'm like, I don't like this for Eddie specifically.
I
Because I don't
see
think it's
this
gonna do anything for
as
him.
my alternate option to cover for Trick losing his title.
Yeah.
This will be a triple threat match by New Year's Evil.
Mm.
Eddie Thorpe gets pinned. Like, and then
Yeah, yeah.
again,
And then you can
another
protect
way,
Trick like that.
another way to
Yeah.
protect Trick. So
Yeah.
that's all that kind of leads into.
I mean, that's how he lost it the first time too. Because I mean, he hit a trick shot, and then Ethan Page falls onto Javon Evans. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even
Yeah,
lose, or he didn't get pinned. So, yeah, that's all I had. That was my NXT.
it was a good show though. I'd put this as their second WWE's second best show of the week, which means SmackDown was easily
Yeah,
not
SmackDown
as
was so clearly, so clearly
good.
taped. Like everybody is out of here, dog. I'm like, we're gonna sprint through SmackDown. There was
Yeah, I
nothing
don't
there.
have that much for SmackDown at all. But let's get into the coffee shop AEW, and it was a themed week at the coffee shop AEW Holiday Bash, and it was here in Washington D.C.
Which is why I'm gonna start off with my Reggie. The fact that we did not go to the show after watching these highlights, I was so pissed because bro. I looked at the Ticketmaster on this, like I don't know how many, at least like 3 different days,
It's like
because
$60
I
too.
knew it was coming up, and I'm just like, I'm like, yo, this is nothing. I can definitely go, like, just spend this $60, $70, whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I'm mad as shit. We didn't go. We got Hurt Syndicate on here. We got my base god, the Beast Mortos, on here. Great match between Will Ospreay, Darby Allin. The Death Riders are here. Like all the top, like even Swerve had an appearance. He didn't come out to the ring, but we got a Swerve's house chant. Like, and that crowd was scorching hot. Like everything that came, like just him being backstage, like they started the Who's House chant, like Swerve's house. And immediately watching that with Ricochet, I was like, that's when I got mad. I was like, we should have fucking went with this. Like, I want to do a Swerve's house chant right now. So I'll get that because there was nothing bad about this show. It was just the fact that I ain't sleep on them no more. I mean, I should have been the one to call you and just been like, yo, let's just go. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I was like, it might be a little too much. I'll have to take off of work. Man, fuck that. And now it's gonna piss me off because next time they come here, it'll be like Rampage, the worst show out of all of them. And it's like, damn, dog. So but yeah, this
I
is
mean, they come here enough. This is definitely a stop that they're here pretty often. So
yeah.
I think
But a good stop. This was a really good stop, though. This was not pay-per-view, obviously, but this is a really good flagship episode for them.
no, but I think if you had to power rank their cities, I would assume that DC is probably like not up there with Chicago. I think
Maybe top
Chicago.
5.
Yeah, if Chicago is like is on the A tier, I put DC on the B tier.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll get Dynamite and maybe a good, a PLE maybe, but this is DC is something I think they care to come to as one of like their major cities.
Yeah.
So we could definitely check it out next time. I'm down. Like I said, it's not at the Capital One Arena. It's at the Mystics where the Mystics play, the Sports and Entertainment. So it's a smaller venue.
And you felt that too, and I felt right. It felt right
Yeah.
just watching it when, like, we know it's better to just pack out your TV show than to like have, a third or 2/3 of, a whole stadium empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I would say this
and
is
I think
like
that's
that.
also why I felt so.
Let's say that arena is probably the size of the Siegel Center in VCU.
Yeah. It felt like I just felt like such huge FOMO, like fear of missing out after that. I was just like, God, that's exactly what I fucking wanted. So, but yeah, so it's a Reggie on us, basically. That's what that
I'll
is.
take that. I'll take that. It won't be the first,
Right.
or it won't be the last. Let's get into the rest of the show, and I guess we could just start off with. I will just say, in my opinion, is probably the best thing that happened this entire week.
It is. It is for sure.
Darby Allin versus Will Ospreay, and I actually saw this live. I had a good portion of Dynamite this week. Like I watched it live. This match was spectacular. There was sequence that I'm blanking on exactly what happened,
Yeah.
but like it was like 4 or 5 move sequence between both of them. I was like, yo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we can
counter
get on
into
wrestling
counter into counter.
We can get into wrestling sometimes where like sometimes it feels a bit too gymnastics. And you know, we're just kind of the way they transition between their spots, that was art.
That's one of those times when you're like, oh, this is what being like best in-ring wrestler in the world is all about. When you're like, you're talking about like guys in their prime. Like clearly Will Ospreay is in his physical prime. You know what I mean? For them to like, you know, seamless transition, like going into a brain buster. Oh no, going into a Slumdog Millionaire. No, I caught you. I'm going in for a full Nelson. Oh nope, I landed on my feet. Blade. Like what the fuck?
I was like, yo,
dog. And then for all of it, for Darby to get this win, I think because Will Ospreay somehow is like almost. He's not Bryan Danielson in the sense of like losses don't affect him, but I just think he's so like. I just think everybody knows that he's so fucking good, like just at professional everything wrestling, that it's like, man, like it just makes it feel like $1 million. Like it feels like Darby needed this win, and he's out. You know, he's always outweighed. But for you to beat arguably the best wrestler on this roster in his prime, and you're down 50 pounds, is absolutely amazing. And you know, they talked about that on Worldwide too, where it's like, you gotta like suspend disbelief for Darby Allin just in these matches because he is 160 pounds, if that 150. And it's like, how do you wrap your mind around Darby Allin actually doing damage to people when he's so light? But it's like, oh, that's what he does. I think it, you know, was Kaz or whoever was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna use my body as the weapon. Like I'm just the actual battering ram, and will ball myself up into a cannonball and just like throw myself at them to cause as much damage as possible. And it's like he's just a human, you know, not traffic dummy, you know, crash test dummy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's literally.
You
his
ever
style,
like try to like lift a baby that doesn't want to be lifted, and they just go like dead weight?
They go limp, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine doing that with a 160-pound person, where it's just like I'm just gonna be dead weight on you. God, that's like, that's heavy.
Definitely. It was the best wrestling. It was the best in-ring action this whole week for sure. Almost put it in top shelf, just because.
I wouldn't blame you. Yeah,
TV, because once again, TV match of the year. It's in that conversation, so that's where I'll be like. But it's definitely super high, like the top of Primo. We do gotta like. Oh no, I'll go back and do that. Never mind. I'll talk to you about that off pod. But the other Primo that I had for this episode was the Death Riders winning over the faces, or like the aligned faces right now, because nobody would ever call Hangman a face. But in this case, Jay White, Orange Cassidy, and Hangman Page. We'll say, I mean, it should be like just the finish of it should be knocked down, I think, like where you got, you know, can they coexist? Like so much taking apart the faces where Jay White and Hangman are face to face, like going at it in the middle of the match, and Moxley is able to hit the most devastating finisher in all of professional wrestling, a schoolboy pin on you know, Orange Cassidy for the win. So really, this was about the story of them, and I think it wasn't even about as much the Death Riders themselves. This was a combination of, well, Pac is insane selling. He's one of the best sellers of all. Like Pac might be on my Mount Rushmore. He's on the short list of Mount Rushmore for like just selling. The obviously in-ring action was great, but the continuation of specifically Jay White and Hangman, I'm really enjoying this, because this feels similar to like Hangman Swerve, where obviously not as bloodthirsty. You know, they were fighting for #1 contendership. Right now, it's like they're trying to work together, but like them working together is like what's causing the conflict. And they just came out of their feud. So to me, I see this as like I don't know. I guess another nugget of long-term booking. If you want to pull it back in like 2 months or whatever the fuck. I feel like we will have at some point a Hangman and Jay White, exploding death match or whatever the fuck it is. You got to have their blow off. Maybe I should just like recover some of my earlier history this year, but I will say it was stupid. The stupid schoolboy pin. Those are always dumb, especially when those guys that could have broken up were standing in the ring, like literally right next to them. So that was the dumbest part of it all, but I'm fine with it. Last bit, I think I just figured out Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir is like literally the Secretary of Defense, I think.
Okay.
I just figured that out because like after he gets the pin, he's like not beat up, but he's tired and shit. And she like basically comes to get Moxley like she's Secret Service and is like smuggling him out like through the crowd, like with the title. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's what that is. Because it makes the aura go up that it's like you got this badass woman. I'm like, oh, she's fucking Okoye. That's who she is. She's Okoye from Black Panther.
China.
And I'm like, yeah, or China. Yeah, either one. But I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, so that might have also bumped it up in Primo where I'm like, that's what she is. Because Okoye came to my head and I'm like, oh, Okoye's sick as fuck. Like, yeah, she should be threatened. And like, I wouldn't be upset at like, you saw Falcon and Winter Soldier, like when US agent, when he tries to fight the Dora Milaje and he gets his ass kicked, and then he's like, they're not even super soldiers. Like, it's like, yeah, like that's why she can do a fucking like judo throw on Orange Cassidy and put you in an arm lock or something. So that's the totality of it. I would say maybe more gears turned for me in this than any other time. So that's why that's a good reason. More gears turned for me in this, more intrigue of like what you could do in the future, I guess. Yeah. As just a fantasy booking element.
I don't blame you for that. Yeah. I mean, I think for the Death Riders aspect is, I guess, secondary to, I guess, the other side of the match.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's fine. I mean, not everything has to be two-sided, right, all the time. But even for me, I don't have this anywhere on my card. But to your point, I'm really interested to see the trajectory of Jay White going into 2025. It seems like they're positioning him to be, a prominent focus or a prominent face of AEW moving forward, and I'm here for it. I'm here. I think he has a good package that could be put in the spotlight for them as a company moving forward. So I hope it doesn't lead into like I know you said like they could have like their death match or whatever. I hope there's a little bit, if we do get to that, I just hope there's just substance within the storytelling to raise the stock of a wrestler rather than just like, oh, we're just leading to this death match.
Just to do it, yeah. Like, that's why Swerve and Hangman was so great last year, because that actually felt deserved. And it's the same reason that Drew and CM Punk was so great this year. Like, you want there to be substance, for sure.
Yeah. And I want them to like come out of the end of it, whether it be on a high note or a low note, but I'd rather it be something that kind of puts someone on a path, rather than just kind of leaving them at the intersection.
So like Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway.
Yeah.
Like just in the intersection. Just what the fuck is this?
Okay, we did all that. No, what the fuck? Okay. Mids. We agree on. Go ahead. You had a thought?
No. I was about to ask what you were about to say. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Toni Storm and her amnesia. Memory loss.
Now I figured it. I was like, okay, she has amnesia. She doesn't even know, which this makes me love Toni Storm more because it's all just character work. Because it's like, oh man, when she has the interview with RJ City and he's just like, Saraya, one of your best friends, and like she's just like the last 2 years just never happened, to Toni Storm. She has no recollection of Mariah May. She has no recollection of her being an AEW 3-time women's champion at all. And like RJ brings it up. He's like, how about that? And she's like, I mean, it's kind of early to be, making plans like that. Like 3-time AEW women's champion. Because Mariah May is like best in the business right now. Just like I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, I'm trying to think of like, there's definitely a movie, but I'm trying to think of like what movie it is when somebody's gonna get their like, memory back or something. But whenever that, whenever that comes back, because then he just says straight up timeless. What if I say timeless Tony Storm? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, dog. Like, whenever that switch flips and timeless
be
comes
a
back,
great payoff. It's gonna be a great
yeah.
payoff when she like turns on that timeless Tony Storm face.
Mhm.
You know, like
When-
that. Like, what was it? Because she did it against yeah, was it Mariah May?
When
Where
you
she
talking about
like
the
came out.
pose?
Yeah, remember you said like it was almost like 2 months ago. We were like, oh, she did this pose with this face that was like from
Yeah,
a
yeah,
movie
yeah.
scene, and it's like
Hmm.
I imagine that same thing is going to happen when her memory kind of comes back, and then she does the whole like 1930s like
Yeah.
Tony Storm acting phase. That the payoff is going to be good. I'm just curious though, like how did this amnesia come about? She
Probably
ain't
from a
get
shoot
knocked
to the
out.
face. A shoot to the face will do some damage, dog.
You don't think
Like,
she went to some type of hypnotist?
I don't know. I don't know why she would. I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe because she already had a nervous breakdown the first time when she
Yeah.
lost the title, which caused her to go timeless. So maybe, yeah, maybe she hypnotized herself because she was so distraught that she didn't want to remember the pain she was to like losing the title. And honestly, here for that storyline, like Tony Storm getting herself hypnotized to not remember the pain, that's fucking great.
Yeah, I'm curious. I do think some of it's a little campy in the way she's presenting it, but I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Like she's like, oh man, that will be great. I can't believe
Yeah.
that. I'm like, shut your dumb ass up.
Like
Oh,
by her memory, she literally just got to AEW. Like
yeah,
she
it's just
just
like
got there. So
it's like
that's
the way
funny
it
as
plays
hell.
out and how she's just like, oh, I'm just so happy for the opportunity. Like she's just like she just got out of goddamn fucking WWE ID.
Like
Like
developmental. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, like she just got out of the performance center. Like, shut your dumb ass up.
Really.
But I'll toss this up to you because I feel like this is just such a dumbass thing. Ricochet.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna leave it there. Just Ricochet.
I, I like the Jada Kiss laugh, yo. I like that. But hold on. We have got to, or I specifically have got to stop referencing Ringer Wrestling Show. They're just so good at it, just like we are. I mean, if you're following them, you might as well follow us. We're on exactly the same tier as far as quality of content, honestly. But going to that, when he's like, yo, Ricochet is like actually like leaning into the corny. You know what I'm saying? Like try to make the badass, like the narrative was like, oh, is he gonna make an impact? Is he gonna be lost in the shuffle? You know what I'm saying? Is he gonna fade in the background? And what happens? We know exactly what's gonna happen where he goes straight up against Will Ospreay, he loses. Of course he's dynamic, he's in his physical prime as well. Really what Ricochet needs is to stand out with his character. And for that to be done, what we know about Ricochet is that he's a tryhard. He tries way too hard to be way too serious. You know what I'm saying? So like flipping that on its head this week and going to like ass kisser when Hurt Syndicate comes out. And even like later on when he's backstage and I forget, there Kathy Kelly asked him, I think it was Renee, asked him like, hey, Hurt Syndicate, hemmed you up out there and ripped up the business card. He's like, they just be playing. That's how we get down.
He's like, he's playing.
It's like, that's the dude that's not in the clique who think he is. And that dude is corny and he's leaning into it. And then also
and then is he Sammy? Is he Sammy trying to join the bloodline?
Yeah, basically. That's literally what it is. It's Sammy trying to, and then like him being like, and like having the face off with Swerve, like, which was great because obviously immediately I want to see that match. And that was just a great interaction. So yeah, that was in my mid.
Like what the conversation was when like Ricochet told Samantha that he was going to be doing that. I just want to see. He's like, "Hey, babe, like, what do you think if I do this laugh on TV?"
And we would say it's cheesy, it's corny, and he's like, "Perfect." That's what I'm aiming for.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, think about the guy who's like
it's something interesting, and Ricochet, he's got what 6 points on the C2. Yeah, he's doing well in the C2. it's better than just, hey, let's put you in these dream matches. At least it's something.
Yeah, because the thing that they have that he doesn't have, they're cool. They are cool. The second that they step out, they got aura, right? We hurt people. We all yell that shit. Like, that was also what made me jealous. Cause I'm like, damn, I missed that. We hurt people chant. I missed the Swerve House chant. Like, you kidding me? Anyway, but yeah, I think it's literally just a matter of like that can be a story, like him just trying to earn his way in the same way that Sammy did.
But
Sammy
they
was
gave him
never
a
cool
card.
that entire
They were
time.
allowing him to be in, and then he was just like, I guess was playing too hard to get. I don't know.
Well,
but
he was being a kiss ass. That's what he said. Nobody likes a kiss ass. That's what MVP said that to his face and ripped up the card. Like, you ain't gonna be a part of it. So now he's just even if it's not the Hurt Business, he's just looking for like where he belongs. And I really like this like character turn for him to be like, I like the idea of him forcefully like trying to be part of Hurt Syndicate, like just trying to prove it, to big bros, basically. You know what I mean? And then not for nothing, he would obviously balance them out when they're all powerhouses. You know what I'm saying? Like Shelton and Bobby are clearly powerhouses, older guys. So
yeah, no, it's something. Like I said, I it's cheesy in certain aspects, but I think, like you said, they're leaning into the cheesiness of Ricochet in a certain degree.
Yeah.
And it works. And again, I'd rather him have something like this that has at least some meat on the bones than just like, hey, we brought you here to face Will Ospreay and put on 5-star
and not give you a serious story.
Yeah. So.
Because nobody would say that Sammy was cool during the Bloodline. He was not cool. Like Roman is cool, inherently cool. The Usos are cool. He's like, yeah, dog, give me some that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was trying too hard, and then eventually, because Jay was tripping, Roman was like, yo, yeah, exactly, my full blown Us,
But it's gonna be fun. I'm curious to see how it moves forward with that as well. Another hip business thing. I had this at mid, and you had this at shake.
Yeah.
Shelton beating the Beast Mortos. I had this at mid just for, again, the wrestling aspect of it, and then Shelton, he's taken a couple losses the last couple weeks. I don't think those losses hurt him, but I'm glad that he ended up getting a win over a competitor in the Beast Mortos. So
yeah, Beast Mortos is getting clean swept.
That's the unfortunate part as well. Is like, damn.
Yeah. But yeah, as I look at this, it's like clearly, I mean, of course Shelton's gonna win this. But not that I have them all like Hurt Business into Ricochet is all mid. I just had it down here. As I was watching Shelton's finisher, which MVP called the Hurt Fall. I'm like the mat technician and like what I would call things like what's the technical name of this shit. So what I came up with, because I haven't seen this move before, but I would call it an inverse or reverse key lock grip Northern Light suplex into a power slam, which is the Hurt Fall. Because as I'm looking at it, it looks like he's gonna just flip him like over his head, but he's just using that shoulder to like raise him up. But I don't know what the name of the like small mini segment would be called, but just me naming fucking moves. That should be a segment too. Like, just breaking down the technical, like what it is. But I was just like, yeah, as I was watching it, I was like, that's a mouthful. Fuck it, I'll just put it on the Nation doc.
Name, right? It's like, when you see like
the scientific name,
it's like, oh yeah, this is like Ozempic, and then you actually read like the drug name, and it's like hyperfine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last shake I had, which this honestly didn't even make it. It was just the fact that like it was really more so MJF dissing DC and being like, it's not my fault the Wizards suck. And then I thought it was awesome because the crowd immediately is like, duh, like, Wizards suck. And then a Wizards suck chant starts. So I was like, that's the best part of this whole thing. Honestly, it's gone on too long. And it's just unfortunate that, Adam Cole had to get hurt when he did. But
he got hurt
I guess
again.
He might as well win because I'm like, MJF isn't going to get hurt from it. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to lose anything, at least not in my opinion. So
did Adam Cole?
He is still a pillar of AEW. No, I mean from like last year, like when they were supposed to,
Oh,
like
okay.
when they
So
were
you
supposed
meant
to
like
actually
that's
happen.
yeah. I was like, he just came back. How you get hurt
Yeah,
again?
like this man ain't do shit yet. Like how he get hurt? He been on vignettes. But yeah, that's it from the coffee shop for me.
Bet. Same here. Same here. It was a good show. It was a good show. Like I said, next time we'll have to go catch the actual DC show whenever they come in. Hopefully, it's not a Collision or a Rampage. And it's either a Dynamite or
Yeah.
a PLE. Let's move on to Thursday. Get
Oh yeah.
into the book of wrestling.
This
One
week I'll
this
take the
week.
more recent one.
All right, we got a light one this week. We only got two on the calendar, but I think these two are very, rich in wrestling lore. So you said which one you were gonna take? The more
I'll do the
recent
more
one.
recent one. Yeah.
All right, I'll start with the oldest one. December 13th,
Yeah.
2001, on SmackDown. Booker T and Stone Cold go grocery shopping. This is a classic. I remember watching it live, but as many people probably know, I'll just kind of share the screen real quick just so they could see the visual. Booker T
Yeah.
and Stone Cold fight at a grocery store, and they go through the entire thing, and it's one of the greatest segments of all time. Booker T talked about it. He was like, he still gets asked about that more than anything than he did in the
Mhm.
ring. And so, if you haven't seen it, it's great. Booker is just making all these ridiculous sounds. Cold crawling through the refrigerators. Austin chugging milk like a goddamn madman.
It
Price
really
check
makes
on
you think,
Jackass.
like, why
Like,
don't we do stuff like this more often? We need to have on location, like, we know you got the budget, dog. Like,
yeah,
like we need to do one of these. Like, I mean, this year I guess it would have been the dumpster match, right? That would have been
yeah,
that version of this year. But yeah, I'm all for the unique vignette slash match type that has absolutely nothing to do with kayfabe, but we're just in for the ride. Like a
yeah,
Food Lion ass whooping just because they have a rivalry and Stone Cold can't stand Booker, and he was actually the one who hurt Stone Cold, like 6-7 months prior to this. It's like, okay, this is fun as shit. Because like honestly, as serious as AEW takes themselves, I'm like, there's no way in hell I could see like Swerve and Hangman putting on like a fun, funny ass whooping like this. You know what I'm saying? It would be way too serious, but super classic moment. And yeah, Booker says like, they had no direction. Like it was just
yeah.
like, y'all work your way through the store, and you got famous quotes like Stone Cold saying, price check on a jackass. Like, you know
Bruce
what I'm
check on
saying?
Jackass.
Exactly.
And it's funny because it's like you see people were actually grocery shopping.
Yeah, they were. This was legit. And then there's like a few like real fans. I rewatched the whole segment. And even before the ass whooping starts, you hear Stone Cold on the monitor, and he's like, opening a can of whoop ass on aisle 10. That's opening the can of whoop ass on aisle 10. And you see Booker T, he's like holding cereal, like, what the fuck? Like, who would say that? Like, man, it's just the whole segment is absolutely amazing. And then it
It's
ends in,
great.
Booker T literally getting checked out, on the
Yeah.
conveyor belt and falling off and crying, saying he's going to get Stone Cold. So,
I'm gonna get you.
yeah, crying like a little bitch. And just for all that to be freestyled, like that just shows like how tapped in they are as entertainers, like, and the
Yeah.
chemistry that they have. Because like no direction, just go have some fun and fuck up the store was basically the directive. I'm like, that would have been the best day at work ever. Like honestly.
I wonder how much they paid that cost.
Uh, it's got to be like 15K. But you add inflation, that's like 50 because they was fucking up. The produce section got it. Like it was everything. They went through the dairy, like when
Yeah.
Booker puts Stone Cold in the freezer and he just comes out the
Yeah.
other side, like you said, drinking milk, like just chugging a gallon of milk like he's Kurt Angle. Like, oh my God. But yeah, inflation, I call it 50K at least. They went through at least like 5 of those aisles
Yeah.
and like all of the produce section.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. they
We'll
they
watch it
they
again after this and give an estimate.
they gotta they gotta figure out a place that like is willing to do that and be like, yeah, well, we got enough stuff that we could maybe they replaced it and that was all expired shit. But except for the milk, I hope that's Stone Cold. The
Yeah, all right.
expired milk. But, like, I don't know. That just seems like how the logistics of that just seem. How do you get a grocery store to be like, yeah, we'll let you fuck up our products?
Yeah, fuck up the inventory. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I feel like you can the lowest bar to cross honestly is just the manager. Whoever the manager of that store is, if they're like a deep enough cut like wrestling fan, you could probably get away with it because they're also in charge of like all your inventory and all that type of stuff. So you just write it off as like, hey, damaged in transit, like some shit
Yeah.
like that, maybe.
You
So,
wonder I wonder if that grocery store is like a tourist attraction
oh yeah, right. I'm sure it is.
for Billy to be like, "Oh, this is where Stone Cold beat up Booker T." And I wonder where it's
uh,
in the middle of some nowhere where it's like, "Oh, this is where the world's biggest ball of yarn is."
yeah, right. Just out in the middle of Nebraska, some bumfuck.
Yeah.
Like, where the hell? It'd be fun if they had like an imprint of like just Booker T's outline, the body, like near the conveyor
Right.
belt, like he's still dead. The next entrant in the Book of Wrestling, December 17th, 2006, Joey Mercury gets his face rearranged. Armageddon, and one of the most graphic accidental scenes in WWE history. Joey Murphy had his face and nose smashed with a ladder when a spot went wrong in a fatal four-way ladder match for the WWE Tag Team Champions in the championship in the match. Paul London, Brian Kendrick retained the titles against Joey Mercury and his Eminem partner Johnny Nitro, the Hardy Boys, and team of William Regal and Dave Taylor. And I don't know if you remember this spot. I know you
Oh, I
do.
definitely remember it. I definitely
Okay, but
remember
that
it.
little the seesaw setup of the ladders, where Jeff Hardy is on the turnbuckle and jumps on the high end and hits Eminem, the tag team Eminem in the face, with the exception of Joey Mercury not getting his hands up in time. I don't know if that was the mess up, but clearly both feet of the ladder go straight into Joey Mercury's face and Johnny Nitro's face, but clearly his is the one. His shit is leaking, bro.
Mhm.
Like a crime scene, man. Like, and then I remember him being gone for like, I think he missed that next SmackDown, obviously.
Yeah.
And then after that, he had the mask. And it was like, bruh, we could see the damage through the mask. Like, his shit
Yeah.
was flat,
That
bruh.
shit
Like,
gnarly. You could kinda I think
yeah.
you could still kinda see it today because he's one of the,
Producers, right?
producers and,
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see him come out during, brawls and stuff to break it out, like, I that whew, jeez. Like, you talk about people wanna talk about wrestling as fake. That ain't fake, people. Like,
Exactly.
that man took a ladder to the face unintentionally, but, like, Jesus, like,
That man, his cartilage is gone, dog. Like, seriously, that man got nothing.
I'm
But
glad he's
yeah,
okay because that was something serious.
yeah,
Like,
it
I'm not a
was.
fan of usually when they turn the screen from color to black and white because of the red.
Hmm.
That is a case where you kinda need to put the black and white on because
Yeah, that one and like Eddie's chair shot that he took, like when he's bleeding all over the place. Those are definitely those kind of ones when you, all right, this is a little too much.
yeah, that's incidental though. So I mean, again, you can't plan it, but damn, like I'm glad that he was all right after that because I can't imagine just
Yeah, right.
the
Just
feeling
the
of
immediate
having
react, like
yeah,
I
because that
can't
ladder
keep
is coming
wrestling
up
that match.
quick and then it comes up. It basically uppercutted his nose.
Yeah, literally. Yes. Mm,
Damn.
graphic stuff.
Shout out to Joey Mercury. All right. That's it for the Book of Wrestling this week. Let's move on to probably the weakest show of the week.
Absolutely
SmackDown.
weakest. Very clearly taped, but it's fine. It's the holiday season. Spend time with the family, roster.
I only had one thing on here.
Yeah,
It's probably mid flat, but I have Nia Jax and Candice LeRae losing over Bianca and Naomi. And I mainly have that not even for the match. The match is the match. It's fine in itself. Um, More so the storylines from both sides and where we might be leading to. Obviously, the Nia, Candace, Tiffany is a little bit more straightforward. We've had a little bit more pieces put into place over the last few weeks that we kind of understand where this is headed, and that Tiffany is going to attempt to at least cash in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Candice LeRae kind of cause a problem in that. But there is going to be a head between Nia and Tiffany, and Candice is probably going to be somewhere in it. I'm more so intrigued on the Bianca Naomi aspect because remember when Jade got taken out a few weeks ago, and I gave you my top 3 list of potential candidates. Naomi was on that list.
Mm-hmm.
And, last week, her and Bianca seemed to persuade Nick Aldis into, allowing Naomi to be defending the tag team championships on behalf of Jade and, helping out Bianca. I thought it was interesting that before the match, they're in Gorilla and, they're getting interviewed. Bianca has one belt on her shoulder and the other belt around her waist. Naomi just standing there. Odd. It's a bit
Well,
odd.
I didn't like that Naomi. I mean, I guess that's the part that I was missing because,
Yeah.
to my knowledge, I just see them defending the titles, and I'm like, where the fuck these Freebird rules come from? Y'all ain't the New Day? Like, what the hell is this? So, just seeing Naomi like automatically be tag team champion, I was like, wait, hold on. So, but yeah, that puts the nugget in my head also, where I'm like, because my point with that,
It's no different than Piper taking the belt from Raquel when Raquel and Tiffany and Chelsea were champions.
oh yeah, that's right, because Raquel got hurt. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
But
true.
again, the fact that Naomi is not carrying the belt, Bianca is like, I'd rather wear 2 belts than give you the other belt to carry.
I think that's projecting. You're projecting that onto Bianca. Like, she ain't say that.
She didn't say
I
that,
see
but
you
like,
reading her
why
mind.
you got to wear 2 belts on? If she's gonna be defending the title, let her wear the title.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, if she gonna be your partner, obviously she need to hold it. So it's like she either is or isn't. It's no half stepping. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're either a virgin or you're not. Um, Yeah, with Nia and Candace, I think. Well, yeah, Candace, she's just taken like the spot of Tiffany because Tiffany's like too hot with Money in the Bank. It's not believable, for her to be still the princess to Nia's queen. So I think it might be a matter of like, I don't think Candace stops that cash in. Like, she might try it, but I mean, she's not a big enough person right now. I don't know. I still don't have a prediction on like when she's cashing it in either because we got a lot of big stuff coming up. Like, you still got Liv. Liv is still a champion. Granted, that's going towards Rhea, so we know that's not the case. But if it's not then it's got to be either Saturday night's main event or like Royal Rumble. We're talking about, is she going into Mania as champion? So I really want to see more development from that side, like specifically like, all right, who's Nia's opponent going to be? Where she's kind of well, I don't want to say just floating. She is like women's champion, but like they are loosely connected in a way that I don't appreciate without advancing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just like the holding period as we get in with a lot of these stories, around this time going into the holiday. So that's all it is.
I think that's a lot of the tape nature of the show. Too,
that's where I was about to go. Just because, and it feels like it's taped, which it is. So
yeah. So I mean,
that's the last bit.
I think for the little bit of progression that we did get, I'm like, okay, there's little nuggets of like, that's interesting. More so than like pushing the storyline forward. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Let's see if you pick that up. But I agree with you. I think Tiffany's best chance of winning the title and cashing in is at Saturday night's main event. And if it doesn't happen there, she seems like a person.
Woman's never cashed in at Mania, so
again, yeah, she seems like a person that I can see the visual of her cashing in and winning the title at WrestleMania, and just seeing that image of her, holding the belt, like that just seems like it's just too easy not to do.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't happen at Saturday Night's main event, you can see it happening at WrestleMania. But
Yeah.
again, then what does that mean for her? Is she in the Royal Rumble? What's happening at the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it is an interesting situation to see how it plays out in the next couple of weeks. But that's it for me. I didn't have anything else on SmackDown.
Yeah, for me, the last thing I had it was just some good old crossover time when we got Drew showing up on SmackDown. I
Mhm.
just called this the Drew and Solo truce promo, which it's not really a truce because I mean Drew, we know that he's a vindictive killer. This is this version of Drew that we have right now. The same version that we've had for like the last year and a half. And just if anything, his promos are still fucking great. It's like the carryover from the CM Punk shit is like just everywhere now. Because my favorite quote from him is just saying, "Oh, you'll have to excuse me because this is as close as I can stand to you without beating you within an inch of your life for like what you did to me." It was just like I remember, last year at Clash of the Castle, you're the one who causes me to lose the title. So I still want to beat the shit out of you and claymore your face off, but hey, do us all a favor and you take out Roman, and then we can get back to our business. So I was like, okay, heels just healing together. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but like it made sense. It was cool interaction just between Drew and Solo, but also felt super produced and mechanical because they are on polar opposite ends of like shows and like rivalries where you're like, what the hell is his issue? And then you're like, oh, okay. And then I think it's just because you're seeing those two together where it's like, and it's been so long, you're like, oh yeah, this is a tape show. Like we're just using the people that we got here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like trying to make
But then
convince me that
it's
there's a
also a
match coming.
problem for WWE that you're trying to retrain fans to be like, "Oh, look, wrestlers actually do remember." At least some
Hmm.
wrestlers remember, right? Like Kevin remembers,
Kevin does,
Drew
yeah,
clearly remembers, like, you know what I'm saying? So Punk remembers, Seth remembers. So there is a handful of wrestlers that all of a sudden now have memories that go beyond just 3 months. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's like, "Oh,
Which is
I remember.
unheard of for us. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
you did this shit to me 2 years ago, nigga. Get over
yeah,
it." Like,
right.
but
Seriously,
so that is a bit of like retraining that we need to do. It's like, bro, like, why do you remember that from 2 years ago? That was a whole different lifetime ago. But hey,
yeah, a whole different bloodline ago.
in real life, that would happen. So a bit of it is a bit of retraining, and then yeah, again, it's the tape. If some of it's to take
Yeah.
picture of it as well. So, do you see Drew moving to SmackDown?
Um, sure. I was
I'm
think
talking about as
that
far as like transfers because it seems like the Bloodline is moving to Raw.
I'd say Damian
Maybe
Priest needs to
Bianca
move.
seems like to be over on Raw. So I'm
Mm.
curious to see like who do you think if you have projections on the transfer?
Yeah, Damian needs to go
Mhm.
because it's easier to move one person than a group of people. Like you got to separate Judgment Day and Damian at this
Yeah.
point for sure. I think it'll allow him to spread his wings and actually be in like the title contention, like over versus Cody and stuff like that. Like that
Mhm.
can be believable. Um, who else would I have on there? Would have said the War Raiders, but they just won the tag team title, so I'm glad that that happened. Because I really felt like SmackDown was building up the tag team division. Clearly, like if you're gonna bring Bloodline and stuff over to Raw and have all like the big main eventers, then you got to have like I hate to say a gimmick, but like just have all of your focus of tag team wrestling on SmackDown. Like it's the B show, so might as well and just stock up the division from there. So that was my thought because we got MCMG over there and DIY, and you know what I'm saying. I felt like they were really putting it together. Street Profits, if not just Montez Ford, moving to Raw. Um, who else? What's a woman I would have move? I mean, Lyra's already. I mean, if she doesn't win the tournament, maybe she can. I mean, you don't have to move Lyra. She's great.
It's too
Um,
early to move her.
yeah, it's too
She's not
early.
there.
Who would
Yeah.
I? Who's kind of who's been there for a while? Shayna, I guess. I mean, PFC just doesn't do anything for I think a majority of wrestling fans. So maybe just
Yeah.
move all of PFC, just move all of them, so that way you can shake up like all of like the women's division over there. Um,
I
yeah,
did have
that's
a
a few
thought.
off the top.
I did have a thought though, as far as they call this the transfer window, and I think a lot of people have been comparing it to the transfer portal in college football. But I would actually, personally, I would like to compare it to the actual transfer window in soccer.
Mm.
And because the way the transfer windows, first of all, the timeline as far as when the transfer window during soccer happened, we're coming upon it. The transfer window is open during January and I believe August of a calendar year.
Yeah.
So the second transfer window, the midseason transfer window, is coming up right now in January. And then I don't know, you've played FIFA. Have you played FIFA career, like franchise mode or anything?
Nah, I never
So the
paid
way
attention to
transfer
the.
works, basically the way transfer works in soccer is you have you can either buy or loan
Hmm.
a wrestler. And so buying means there's like a transfer fee, and then you got to pay a certain amount of money to even have like negotiations with that player. And then you can kind of work through like the free agency aspect of moving one player from one team to another team. So say like you're Cristiano Ronaldo, right? And you play for, you know, and you're Arsenal trying to get Cristiano Ronaldo from, Real Madrid, right? Or wherever he's at right now. Real Madrid, Arsenal needs to first come up with the transfer agreement number to be just even have that conversation with Ronaldo. So it's like, all
Yeah,
right, we'll pay you $3 million just to have that conversation with Ronaldo, and then once we agree on that number between clubs, then me and Ronaldo can agree on a contract that would bring him over
for
to England,
loan.
right?
Yeah.
Not even for loan, to actually buy and
Oh,
like
for oh,
transfer
okay.
teams. A loan would be as it is. It's like, hey, we'll loan you out Ronaldo for 3 months.
Yeah,
But so he'll be on your team for like 3 months, but then once those 3 months are up, he comes back to us.
yeah.
And so I would like almost like that in the sense of if that's how the transfer window played out in the WWE, is because I think in some cases you can have certain wrestlers on loan to
Hmm.
handle beef with somebody on another show. I'm totally fine with that, but then you come back to SmackDown once that beef is over or whatever, whatnot. And then
Yeah,
there's gonna be some people to be like, yo, like, we actually want to have that transfer. We want to buy you and we want to bring you over to Raw or SmackDown. And here is the trade negotiations that we will agree upon to have that thing facilitate. So that's kind of how I would play it out. I would play it out with like, hey, you could either loan on a short term or a long term, right? Short term being a couple weeks, long term being a couple months. Or if you want wholesale, if Carmelo Hayes is adamant about getting out of SmackDown, then you sell him.
hmm,
But if Nick Aldis is like, nah, you're too valuable to just full on sell, but we'll loan you out to go handle some biz to go take care of whoever you feel like you want to take care of on Raw, by all means,
hmm.
we'll loan you out for 3 months.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not mad at that idea at all. My next thought is like, I guess maybe like the draft would be the Super Bowl of that. Like that should be the end of the window, I guess, because that's what I put together in my head was just like the transfer window is just people floating just because they can. They're feeling it out, right? Like that's why Drew can fucking show up on SmackDown the way that he did yesterday. But yeah, Carmelo being like, I really like him. He's actually been the one like really pushing this whole I'm the number one draft pick. And he's had that going this whole year. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like nobody fucking cares. Carmelo, you're the only one who actually cares. But yeah, if you end that with like the draft between the GMs, I think that's great because then you have like an actual storyline like of the GMs, like Nick Aldis versus um, Adam Pierce. You know what I'm saying? And then one of them can screw each other, like at the end, oh, you took my last person, in the draft or some shit like that. I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
I still
picturing
would do
it
the
be like,
draft. I would still do the draft after like WrestleMania. I wouldn't do it at right now after the transfer window. That's just a little too close.
well, yeah, that's right. So this transfer window has been open for how long now?
I don't even know if it's officially open.
Okay. See, this is a issue that we have because
But again, I think that's
uh,
the tape nature of this because it's like, how do you do that? I think when the calendar year starts and we're back to live shows on a weekly basis, I think maybe we'll get the transfer window. But right now, it's like,
all right, I'm not mad at that if we're just doing this is clean because you can just have it for that time of year. You know, March Madness is always in March. So
yeah,
have the transfer window or transfer portal open from top of the year till after Mania, till the draft. You know what I'm saying? So that gives you
I
all the
go only January.
that's what I understand that, but I'm just saying that gives you all everybody to work with as far as like your storyline telling and into the road of WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? So because it's not like you got to beat us over the head with it. You only need one or two people like each week, you know, from each show showing up. Like if that,
Yeah.
if you need to do it every single time, like we'll understand why, you know, the Street Profits are on Raw for whatever reason. We'll
Yeah.
understand why, you know, without it being like explained to us. So
All right. But we'll see how that plays out once we get. Hopefully, they just didn't forget about it and it wasn't a throwaway line because right now it does feel like a throwaway line.
mm,
But again, I'm going to say it's because it's the holiday season and,
yeah.
you know, you're making do by making do and it's pre-tape. But let's get into Saturday finally. And it's
Yep.
easy. All we got is champions, no pop-ups this week.
Yep.
We both
And we're
have
not gonna
faces
get
this week.
we're not gonna get flagged for these either. Because we'll just
Yeah,
use
we're
our
not.
voices. But the I got the Mace and Cameron, hey yo, pause title going to Joe Tessitore, which was this was during the Ludwig and Braun Breaker match, where I had to go back like on my YouTube and clip this, or like not clip, but rewind multiple times where I thought, because I was like, I know he just said that because I said hey yo immediately and I rewinded it. But like the spot where Ludwig Kaiser is in control and
Mhm,
about to hit the super sphere,
mhm.
and he doesn't see Braun Breaker. Joe Tessitore, I guess he hits him with the he hits him with the spear, and Joe Tessitore says, "We didn't see him coming. He came up his backside." And I was just like, "Hey, Jesus!" I was like, "He just came up," or he said he came up his backside, and I was just like, "Yo," or came all the way up his backside. I was just like, "Are we doing this right now? You don't hear this?" You don't hear this, Joe? Like you're a professional broadcaster, dog. I don't think
When you're in the
you
moment,
said
he
that.
probably doesn't hear it, but then when he listens
Yeah,
on the playback, he'd be like, "Oh."
that's what I was like. God dang, like made it sound like Bax is getting blown out in the middle of the ring. I'm like, dog.
Yo,
All
I
right,
got
so
a
yeah,
co-champion for you on that as well because the CW network on Twitter, they like had one of those like they were asking different people backstage of NXT, ask a question and then pass a question on to somebody
mm,
else, right? The
yeah,
first one was Ava was basic uh Jada Parker asked Ava to tell her like what is her hidden talent, right?
mm.
Ava then goes on to say that Jada Parker can suck the meat off a chicken bone completely dry. And it was just like, hey, yo,
Whoa,
what?
let's go. Yeah, that's man, that's ears perking up. That's the exact opposite of Ayo pause. That's like, hey, yo, hold on. What's
I was
happening
like,
over here?
I was like, what did I just hear? Did y'all,
Like,
Ava, why you do her like that? That's not fair.
yeah. She can suck
So
a golf ball through a garden hose. That's what she said.
that's
Like,
basically what she said. I was just like, yo,
Jesus.
again,
Oh.
these GMs, again, Ava needs to get the same punishment as Triple H. That's an HR violation. What the hell are
Mm,
you doing?
uh, yeah, who you got for
Uh,
your champion? Yeah.
my champion of the week, his name was Marcus in the movie, but who remembers his name in the movie? I'm gonna
Yeah.
go Big Boy from ATL. I know that who I think it is. Title belt to Rey Mysterio. The New Day, for whatever reason, came late to the stadium on Monday,
Mm,
and they try to go into the locker room, but then were met by Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio had to be the one to tell the New Day that the locker room doesn't want them in there to change because of what they did to E. And that they went a little too far and that they needed to find somewhere else to change. I know that ain't who I think it is delivering that message. Rey Mysterio of all people. This just shows you that the WWE locker room is full of shit. Like, are you serious? That's the guy that y'all chose to bring out to tell them when this man has literally been the worst friend to multiple people and then wonders why people keep betraying him when it's like, bro, you had all these people and then out of nowhere you bring out this one dude from NXT to be in a WrestleMania match? Why the hell did you bring back Carlito? Like, come on now. Come on now. Like, the WWE locker room to be like, oh, well, we got to send Rey Mysterio out there because he's the elder statesman. It's like, do you not know his track record?
Yeah. It's very recent track record also. Very recent.
His track record of just being a terrible friend. But no, he's the ultimate underdog. He's the ultimate good guy. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll send the most unqualified person to deliver this message. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, locker room leader, Rey Mysterio, the most tenured, dog.
If that's their locker room leader, the Raw roster needs to go get their heads checked. What the fuck? And are y'all that much of a wimp? Oh, we're going to send the 5'4", 50-year-old man who could barely hold a relationship even with his own son to go deliver this message of like, oh, you guys have been bad friends. Nigga, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror, Ray.
I gave a championship similar to this to Ray like about a month and a half ago when Andrade came down for the save and got his ass beat. And I was like, yo, y'all just had a tag match earlier tonight. Ray, where are you at? Like,
Rey Mysterio is the worst friend. And they were like, oh, you was a bad friend. You went bad too far. It's like, yo. The only thing I didn't like about that segment, it was like Xavier ended up like, it's fine. We didn't even want to dress with y'all anyway. And it's like, come on, bro. Stop relating these high school tactics. You could have said something a little bit more, a little bit more adult in that sense. But the fact that the locker room was like, we're going to send Rey Mysterio to send this message that they went too far, that they were bad friends, and we don't want to dress with you, blah, blah, blah. And they use Rey Mysterio to be the voice to do that. I hope Ray gets his ass beat.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy. Hope he gets his ass beat.
Gets his ass beat. I hope Ray gets his ass beat.
Hey, bring back Midnight Hour. Bring back the old finisher on Ray. That'll do it.
Like, the nerve to have Rey Mysterio tell me that you guys haven't been good friends. Nigga, look in the mirror. You haven't been a good friend or a father.
Jeez.
So,
oh man,
Rey Mysterio, that is your title belt. You get the big boy from ATL. I know that who I think it is. Title belt. Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. That's the guy. That's the guy.
Who should it have been then? Who's the best option? You're not gonna say Seth. Seth would be the other. That's came to my head. But I'm like, a locker room leader. You gotta be tenured. Like, you gotta have respect to everybody else.
I mean, Randy's not there, but Randy's not a good. He's not a good person to do that. Who's the most loyal friend? Otis. I'd rather you send Otis.
Otis. Yeah, there's something to that because like Alpha Academy is so lovable. Like, or whatever they're called now. There's something new now, but yeah.
They're Alpha Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they kept the name. But
or Alpha Babes. I was thinking of the T-shirt, like the Alpha Babes shirt that they're all wearing. That's what I was thinking, man.
But like, yeah, Otis would have been a better choice than Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, Otis is a good one. Yeah, but
Ray, yeah, like y'all again. There's a handful of people that watch the show. Apparently, most of them aren't in that locker room. Because if you watch the show, you would not have picked Rey Mysterio to go send that message.
Hey, they got memories like I do with this pod, just from week to week. I remember this shit like from last week
Just
to this week.
memories
So
of
it's
a
like
goldfish.
it's just a race, yeah, goldfish memory. like you said, for the longest time, the whole time we've grown up, it's been the longest that a rivalry lasted is what, 6 months. You'll have that.
Yeah.
You'll have memory of 6 months, and that's it. But beyond that, it's like nope. So
This man brought up wrestlers, and he had Carlito with him. He could have picked, who was the other guy? He's had Legado del Fantasma with him.
Santos
And
Escobar.
they both turned on him. Why? For valid reasons. Because I want to bring up what's the luchador that they brought up that he
Dragon
substituted. Dragon Lee. When you had Carlito there the entire time to be your WrestleMania partner, you'd be like, nah, I'm gonna pick that nigga from NXT.
Yeah.
To have his WrestleMania moment his first year, while Carlito been waiting for how long? Santos, what was he there for? For you to then just turn your back on him. Ray, you need to look in the mirror. Like,
All
that
right.
is wild. But that's my champion of the week. Rey Mysterio. Look in the mirror. WWE locker room, Raw locker room. Y'all some dumbasses. So I'll leave it at that.
Follow us on socials at Twitch at the Wrestling Rehab, TikTok, YouTube. Send us an email at thewrestlingrehab@gmail.com. And we're streaming here on YouTube also. Catch us live Saturdays at 11. We keep it pretty P with the timing. You got anything else to say, Simpson?
That's it. That's it. I think that's another one in the books. Another perfect episode. Episode 24. Kobe number. Next week, episode 25. I figured out what the 25 is. Barry Bonds.
I said Reggie Bush. That was the first number that came to my head.
Reggie Bush, but I also see, I think Reggie Bush more is 5.
Yeah.
And 25.
Yeah,
and it's funny that
for sure.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was literally watching Trojan War last night before I went to sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, and then hey, 26. Episode 26 will be halfway.
Saquon.
6 months. 6 months of doing this podcast. Officially.
Oh, yep. For sure.
That's wild.
That's a landmark for sure. And then it makes it more wild when you see Rogan is on 2,371 or whatever the fuck. You're just like, Jesus, man.
Yeah. Hey, I can't wait till we reach triple digits. But hey, episode 25 and 26 in the next couple weeks. We have to fit. What does the calendar look like? When is 26? Because next week is Christmas. Oh, 26 will be the new year. So we'll be officially 2025 at that point. Will be the last episode before Raw hits Netflix. So we'll see what happens. But until then, until next time, we'll catch y'all. Peace.